And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, back to a long overdue episode of Next
Amen.
Round Sports. I had to take a few breaks off there for a couple of weeks as we were all out enjoying time with our family during the Thanksgiving weekend. And then the next week, just of certain circumstances, we weren't able to go ahead and put together the podcast. But we're back. We've got a lot to talk about here, and we're really ready to get into it. We're going to jump well, before we jump into it, let me introduce everybody here. This is Chris Porter once again here with my cohorts in crime, Caleb Culver and Jeff Amos. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Hola.
Doing good. It's great to be back. I have a lot to get off my chest, which I'm sure y'all do as well. So I'm ready to go.
There's been a lot going on
Uh-huh.
in football, college, and professional over the past 2 weeks since Thanksgiving. So let's go ahead and jump feet first there into the NFL, and we'll go ahead and everybody pretty much knows what happened during Thanksgiving. We've had some good playing right there. Baltimore's up leading one of the top teams in the AFC
Number
right
two
now,
in the
if not in
AFC
the
right
league.
now.
And,
Two
and
in
I've
the
seen
AFC.
many polls
We're
that
number
have
two in
them
the
as the
power
number two
rankings,
seed
too.
in the power rankings. Yeah.
And right behind the 49ers. And ahead of the Eagles now.
Well, of course, and we'll get into the Eagles and that stinker that they put up against the 49ers. They are who we thought they were.
Yep.
That's exactly. We've been talking this whole time, but we'll get into that here in just a moment. But
Don't
I
let
like
them
how
off the
Jeff's
hook
gonna.
on.
Don't
Don't let
let
them
Jeff
off the
fool
hook
you
on
too.
Sunday.
Jeff was like the Eagles are the best team in the NFC the last time we spoke.
What?
And I said the 49ers. Where you said
What?
they were the best team. How could they not
I
be the best
remember
team? Because they were
that.
8-1.
No.
Yep, I remember you saying that. Yeah, they're 8-1. The record says they're the
And
best
I
team, so
told
they're
you
the
it was
best
the
team.
49ers, especially when they're healthy.
That was a month ago after they lost like 3 straight games. And there's no end in sight. So don't get me started on that.
No end in sight. They were getting healthy. Whatever. Let's go on to some more games. We'll get into this later, I'm sure.
Anyways, we'll get into that, but let's go ahead and start.
Mhm.
Well, really with the last game of last week. Your Bengals
Yeah.
taking care of Jacksonville, and actually, normally
Backup QB winning.
you wouldn't say that a Bengals Jaguars game is Monday night material, but really good game there. I mean, Trevor Lawrence going down really hurt Jacksonville
Yeah.
going through with that. But yeah, Browning looking good. Actually led the league in passing yards this
And
previous week.
everyone liked Trey Hendrickson, excuse me, when he knelt down too after hitting Trey Lance the way he did and did a small prayer for him. Everyone was
Trey Lance
commenting
or
on
Trevor Lawrence?
when Trevor Lawrence went down.
Yeah,
Trey
Lance plays for the
Hendrickson.
Cowboys.
Yes, thank you, Captain Obvious.
Hey,
Trevor
you
Lawrence.
said it.
Trey Lance is down.
I say Trey Hendrickson is the one that hit him. And so people are liking that too. So the Bengals are getting all the love this week. So you said you won with a backup QB. I mean, you dinked and donked, but you gave what the offense, or you took what the offense gave you.
Well,
And somehow Calvin Ridley got me a win by 0.02 points.
I think
and that's take it where you can get it.
And and we need to talk about that in a gumbo, actually. That's
fair enough.
But I think to me, and I'm going to be probably in the minority on this. I think what I felt the key in this game was for the Bengals is their ability to run the ball for a change.
No.
I thought Joe Mixon really had, if not his best game of the year, probably his second best game of the year. They finally
don't
started.
Don't forget about Brown too.
Well, as I was just going to say, Caleb.
Apologies.
Jumping in, taking a stealing his thunder.
Yeah, I know, seriously. But but yeah, we were looking for Chase Brown's involvement last week in that Pittsburgh game. We didn't get it. It's almost like Zach Taylor was reading the newspaper, and then we saw Chase Brown really have a great game, 9 carries for 61 yards. So really provide a solid change of pace. Also, too.
Well, I think that also is partially the defensive line you went against. the Steelers' defensive line is way better than the Jaguars' defensive line.
That much, though?
And a lot of that is
so.
because of Mr. T.J. Watt.
Yeah,
Who
but also
is probably going to be
wouldn't
Defensive Player of the Year.
I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Taylor did get his game plans from the headlines either. But I think it's more the defensive line of the Steelers is just that good.
Yeah,
it's one of their underrated defense.
Yeah,
not to mention that linebacking core.
Jacksonville still has a real solid defensive line.
See, I feel like no. See, to me, the Jags defense has gone way down.
They used to have a good defensive line when they had Calais Campbell. But
yeah.
It's been a few years since they've had a dominant defensive line.
And what is that defensive end? I can't think of his name now, who they traded away a couple of years ago, too. Like, this defense is not the vaunted defense of Jaguars old.
Wow. I guess so.
It's hard to argue when your quarterback got the 341 yards against them. I mean,
no. So
and you got 200 yards.
You were so worried about the beginning of the year.
No, we're talking about run defense now. That's a different conversation.
Run defense.
He's saying total overall defense. So if you think about it, the QB got 300, running backs got 200 on them, right?
Yeah,
that's like 500 total yards offense. That's not a good defense.
I said
it's not a good day at the office.
We're talking about run defense, and then so
okay, they gave up over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns to Joe Mixon. They suck.
They gave a hat trick to Mixon, I think.
Well, again, did I not say they're effective?
Sorry, Jeff.
Did I not say they're effective against the run? My whole thesis for this conversation, everyone wants to give credit to Jake Browning, and then I say they do good against the run. Then you say, oh, Jacksonville's defense or run defense sucks. Then I say that it doesn't, but then you're not getting credit to the run. So, okay. Anyways,
give credit to the run. He's had 200 yards, like we said.
That soundboard, I'll shove that up.
Oh, you will not do anything.
Amen. But again,
I'm trying to give you credit on your team, and you.
I know, right?
No, you're
panties. We're shitting on the Jaguars' defense.
Yes, you are. No, they're a great defense. You just completely abused them. Yeah, stop it. Stop it.
Yes. And also, too, once again, we can't forget about the obvious. Ja'Marr Chase, 11 receptions, 149 yards, a touchdown.
And half of those were on one catch for the touchdown. He got 70. It was a 74-yard touchdown catch.
Okay, well,
I'm not taking that away from him. That's great. Yeah. That's great. You got 140 yards, and you got one of them on one catch. That's awesome.
You got almost half of them on one, or more than half, slightly more than half on one. Yes, I get that, but still, the ability that he got 10 other targets, because Jake Browning, you have to realize he can't throw the ball beyond like 6 yards. So that's why that happened.
Well,
are you sure that's not what the defense was giving him?
Huh?
You sure that's not just what the defense was giving him?
Well, I'm sure because they know that. Because he can't throw it deep. So,
well, then why would they bother guarding deep why not just cover the under routes that he was digging and dunking all night instead of going deep?
Good question. That's my question to you, Caleb. Tell me why.
Well, apparently the defensive coordinator didn't think it was that important, obviously.
Right. He didn't read about
we'll give up the dink and dunk. We're not doing all this, but apparently they came back to bite him.
He didn't want Ja'Marr Chase going over the top after that 70-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, even though Jake Browning can't throw the ball beyond 10 yards. But anyway.
He did read about former Washington QBs, apparently.
A couple things that concerned me about Jake Brown. Jake Brown, excuse me. I think he got flustered twice on those false start penalties. And then
see, I agree. He had one fluster to me. The other was a crowd noise issue. The center just didn't get it.
Oh, yeah. The big time Jacksonville Jaguar crowd where half the stadium is empty. No, fuck.
Hey, they pipe in the sound, okay?
I know, right? They do what every shitty team does. They pipe in sound.
But to
They
me,
did it during COVID, and they just kept the pipes.
also, too, one comment I wanted to say about this game, though.
Yes.
Zach Taylor did his damnedest to try and get this game to Jacksonville. First off, because that Ja'Marr Chase wide receiver throw, thankfully Ja'Marr Chase slipped down because that would have been a disaster. And then the next time they ran with Tyler Boyd, and essentially it turned into
a reverse flea flicker thing that was just stupid.
And if everyone wants to say how good Jake Browning was, then how come we just quit? How come Zach Taylor felt the need to pull out the razzle dazzle?
Because Zach Taylor knew they were winning without his input, so he had to feel like he had to put something into the game to say, "Oh, you remember that great play he called?" But instead, we're saying, "Oh, look at the dumbass who upped the playbook stupidly with a backup QB in his first official start."
I actually hope that is the case because that makes Zach Taylor look like a moron. But
yes.
but in the grand scheme of the Bengals, I guess with a win like this, again, it's going to be a long shot to make the playoffs. Still, I don't.
Well, you got 3 wild cards now.
I know, but again, I didn't say they're completely done. I said it's a long shot, and they have the Colts at home, and then the Vikings at home after that, at Pittsburgh, at KC, home against Cleveland. I think realistically, what it would
it's not an easy schedule they've got coming out by any
no.
I mean, you could beat the Colts and the Vikings. Come on now. You could beat those two teams pretty easy. The Steelers.
Well, I mean, I think
that's a divisional game.
Well, I think you could. I think easily. No, I think the Bengals could win 4 out of the next 5 easily. It doesn't mean that you're a particularly good team. I think Pittsburgh is the worst 7-5 team I've seen in my life. That team cannot score a freaking point at all. Cleveland can't score a point now because they don't have Deshaun Watson anymore. Not to say he was really providing.
Joe Flacco anymore. Don't you discount Joe Flacco anymore.
Oh, you get his knob out of your mouth. Stop it.
Yeah, seriously.
I know. Former Ravens QB, for those who don't know.
Pittsburgh and Cleveland are only being supported by their defenses.
That's
their
just
defenses
powdered
are supported
them.
And by defenses, I mean.
Did you hear that? He just had powdered donuts. That's all. I thought
that's all.
Lactose from beans.
Cleveland and Pittsburgh are only being supported by their defenses. And by their defenses, I mean Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, who are just running through the lines, just tearing through them like wet tissue paper to sack the quarterback almost every play. They're in the backfield and all.
Don't forget about Cleveland's got some good D-backs too.
They do have some good D-backs, but that comes to the age-old question of what came first, the chicken or the egg. It does. Basically, because are your defensive backs good because the pass rush is getting good, or is the pass rush able to get to it because the defensive backs are good? I mean, you can't be wrong either way, but that's where it comes down is how good are they really?
It's just the results are there.
The results are the results. That's all it is right there. That's all you can go with.
It's like CJ Stroud's game tape. Why did you pass him? Because of his Wonderlic score and get Bryce Young, Panthers.
Right. But, I mean, as far as...
Frank Reich lost his job because of it. So
yeah.
But going back to the Bengals, I mean, I think, they could win 4 out of the next 5. Does that mean I think they're a particularly good team? Not really. I mean, but they could easily lose their last 5.
Oh yeah, they're not championship worthy without Burrow. Unfortunately, they're just
Of course.
But how many teams are without their starting quarterback? When you get down to the backup, I mean, you're not expecting much. This isn't like
I said, I mean, your run game's good, your defense is good, but unfortunately, you've got to have.
I don't think our run game is good, but we ended up just having a good game.
Sorry. Probably a better way to say it. Yeah, they're a decent run game, but they're generated by the overwhelming passing that Burrow does, so they don't have to run against a stacked box usually.
Right. So I mean, the thing is that look, this Bengals team, if they somehow miraculously got in the playoffs, it doesn't matter because the goal for this team was to win the Super Bowl this year, particularly with a down AFC, this would have been the prime opportunity to do that. Joe Burrow went down. They started off the season too poor, so they failed. And
if they make the playoffs, they're coming in as the 7th seed. That's the only really option they have to get in. If they come in, they're going up against a 2 seed, which right now looks like Baltimore. Now, being that
they'll probably knock our ass out.
being that it is a rivalry team, that's what you want. If you can get in, you want to get Baltimore because that's really your only chance to move on and possibly gain some momentum. That's their best hope. But the thing is, they actually have to make the 7th seed to do that. And without Burrow, yeah, okay, Brian had a great game. Congratulations. We gave the congratulations for it, but he's a backup quarterback. Is he going to continue that going on?
They've got tape on him now, so.
And on top of that, you're still battling against the Bills for that last seed because the Bills are not in the playoffs right now. They're the 5th highest scoring team in the league, and they are not in playoff contention right now. So Bills got to get some things. They've got to get some things figured out there on in Buffalo because Buffalo. They're worried because they were one of the early season favorites to the Super Bowl, and they're about to be not even making the playoffs.
Right.
Bills dynasty is probably over.
And what the crazy thing about, when you take a look at the Bengals and Bills in particular is the fact that, both of these teams were favored by many to go to the AFC Championship game, and now they're both sitting at 6-6. Buffalo has a 3-5 conference record. The Bengals have a 2-6 conference record. Based on the wild card race right now, the Bengals are 10th and the Bills are 11th. The only reason the Bengals
I just pulled that up right now. They're sitting behind Denver at 9, which we were laughing at Denver at the beginning of the season, and look what they've turned back. Turn that back around. They're at 6-6, sitting at the 9th seed. Houston's at 8, Indy at 7, Cleveland at 6, Pittsburgh at 5.
Right, and so that's if we were to really fully, take a deep dive into the Bengals playoff chances, obviously, wins are wins at this point. You're gonna have to win 4 out of your next 5 to get in, but it'd be huge for the Bengals to get the Colts because at that point, because you already lost to the Texans. But you would have a tiebreaker over the Colts and the Bills at that point. So even, again, you have to win your games regardless, almost all your games, if not all of them.
When you're at this point of the season, you just need to win. Winning is how you do it. There's no other excuses. If you don't win, you're not going to make it.
You just concentrate on your next opponent and go.
Get yourself in. Don't leave it up to hoping for another team to lose so you get in. If you're at that point, you've already
don't do the Dallas Cowboys way. Don't do the Dallas Cowboys
exactly.
way.
Don't do that where you're just waiting for somebody else to lose to hopefully squeak your way in.
And again, like with the Bengals at this point, winning 4 out of 5 is the minimum. 5 will probably get you in. Winning 4 out of 5 is minimum, regardless of how that comes about. You would obviously like to still have against AFC teams still, but yeah, to get a tiebreaker with the Colts, that'd be critical. So,
staying there in the AFC as well, because we know Baltimore, you're on bye coming up. Hurts part of my fantasy team a little bit there, but
same.
Baltimore's still sitting at the 2nd seed, but with Kansas City's loss Sunday night to Green Bay.
That moves them to the 2nd.
Big upset there for Green Bay. Miami took over the number 1 seed in the AFC. Yep. So it's Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Jacksonville. Even with the loss, they're still there at 8-4.
Yeah. Now the good news is we can get healthy. Even better news is that hopefully we figure out what's going on with our special teams, because Justin Kicker is no longer the most accurate kicker in NFL history anymore. It is the Falcons' Young Kim, if I'm saying his name right.
Young Who. Get it correct.
Excuse me. Young Wei Koo. He is now the most. Well, he's now the most accurate NFL kicker. So excuse me.
On my fantasy team the past 3 years because he is money.
He is. But he also kicks very short kicks. He's not asked to kick the same kicks as Justin Tucker. He kicks in the 40s usually.
That's because Atlanta can't get anything 40 yards in. They can't get to the red end zone. They never can.
Oh, I know.
Desmond Ritter
But
can't throw anything
I'm just
in
saying
there.
too, like, and Harrison Butker's pretty close.
And they don't know how to
There's
use
kind of a
Bijan
top
Robinson,
three
so.
right now with Justin Tucker at second. So I mean, this could change obviously next week. They're all very like 89.6 or 89.7. So, but this is also Justin Tucker's worst statistical year that he's had ever. So,
but he's been kicking for a long effing time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it could be age. It could be his comments after the last time, especially the last missed 40-yard field goal he had against the Chargers, I think it was. He said he felt rushed and didn't take his steps through properly. And they've had more block kicks this year than they've had in the past 6 years.
So, see, he's now just to that point that you speak of the Chargers. It's now time for the new University of Texas kicker, Cameron Dicker the kicker.
Yep, Dicker the kicker.
He's taking over now.
I mean, honestly, though, I think the break was good. I like the fact we actually did get a later bye because our injuries and the way everybody's healing up. I think this helps us out coming back in. So I think we could do good things. And then, like I said,
I always prefer
like you
later
said,
bye.
the Chiefs lost.
The
later byes are good.
Great.
I'm not sure 13 or 12, which one I like better. But we'll see how it goes this year. Then I can let you know. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, if we can figure out what's going on with special teams and kind of fix some of that, what's going on there, it's only going to make it stronger.
But just because Younghoe Koo passed Justin
I'm not
Tucker,
saying just because of Younghoe Koo. Did you also hear me say this is the most kicks Justin Tucker's ever missed in his career this year?
Okay,
he's at the lowest accuracy this year.
Okay,
his comments are, I feel rushed too. Now, I said earlier this year, I think his leg is not as strong, and I think age is finally starting to keep up with him this year. But it may be the line or the holder or something along those lines that's not setting it up just right for him mentally.
Yeah, but
does he have a new holder?
I'm saying
not this year. He's a second-year holder.
What I'm saying though is that the only reason Younghoe Koo passed him in accuracy is just because
that's what I said. He takes
dink kicks. His 5th year. No, but this is only his 5th year in the league. This is Justin Tucker's 12th year in the league. So
I know.
I mean, you have to look at the sample size.
I'm agreeing with you for the most part, Jeff. I'm just saying.
All right, I'm done.
There's
arguing about kickers because we're putting people to sleep now. We're arguing about
Jordan
kickers.
Stout. Now it's hard to replace Sam Koch, who should be in the Hall of Fame. I want to mention that before we leave, real quick. Punter in the Hall of Fame, crazy, but he reinvented the game.
Stop it.
He did. He invented like 4 new punts. Put the man in. But let's go on to your Cowboys then, because they actually have a shot to win. Well, if you don't care about punting, you don't care about winning, but that's neither here nor there. So the Cowboys actually have a shot to.
Punting was worthy. It would be a fantasy football stat. Yes. I know. I'm just talking.
It is actually a stat. It's just that nobody turns it on.
I said a fantasy football stat.
I said it's in there.
No, when do you draft
if you look
a punter?
at the scoring board, nobody turns it on because nobody wants to draft a punter. But it's in the scoring sheets for most leagues. If you look at the scoring card, it's punt yards average.
I've looked at the scoring card for every league I've been in every single year to make sure they change, and I've never seen
anything for a punter.
That's because that's what your commissioner has. That's what your commissioner has. You got to look at
No, there's a league in there.
I've never seen
whatever. I'll bring it up next week, and you guys can go suck it.
I want to screenshot
how about your Cowboys? That's what I said. I'll bring it up next week. You shut your mouth. I'll bring it up next week.
Good. Go ahead. I'm dying to see it.
Anyways, on to the Cowboys. What everybody's wanting to talk about. Everybody's talking about.
Cowboys not kickers and punters?
No, not kickers and punters. No, we're on to the Cowboys, and
that's how good the Ravens are. We can only talk about our special teams as a worry. Oh, were you supposed to push a button there?
Stop it. There's that button you wanted.
There we go.
All right, so the Cowboys are able to rough game there against Seattle. I mean, I expected Seattle to come out.
I don't know if I'd call it rough, but
it was rough to watch because Seattle, I knew, was coming out to give their best game. They needed that win. That they needed that step up and being able to say, hey, the Cowboys are playing hot. We're able to come in here into their house, knock them out right after they just annihilated Washington and the Giants. It would have been a good game for Seattle to bring up. But
this is
the Cowboys were able to hold it
your
on.
First win against a team with a winning record.
It is.
The Cowboys' first win against a team with a winning record.
And to me, they didn't look good. They looked like they were a little shell-shocked at the beginning of the game. They came in with a little swagger of, oh, no one can touch us, and then they got punched in the mouth. Now, they were lucky that Seattle's not a good enough team that they couldn't hold them off. They didn't have the defense to hold them off, and that's the one thing that helped them there. But Smith and Jibby, that rookie at Ohio State, did
well, Metcalf too.
Yeah. Metcalf was able to he exposed DaRon Bland. And everybody's going to jump on, DaRon Bland sucks now. But at the same time, DK Metcalf is a beast of nature.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And DaRon Bland is like 4 inches shorter than him and probably is outweighed by him.
And
by
also
60
got
pounds.
his 5th interception return for a touchdown.
He did against Washington.
Washington. Sorry,
that's the Thanksgiving game against Washington. But he did that.
My bad.
And that is a NFL record. Yeah. And I give him credit on that. I did. But everybody was expecting him. Okay, well, he's just so good. He's brought back more interceptions for a touchdown than anyone else. He's going to shut down DK Metcalf. Excuse me. Have you met DK Metcalf? He's a freaking monster.
Yeah.
He's gigantic. He's taller,
every QB's going to have bad games from time to time, too.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to have bad games. And this was not his best matchup. I know that right now he's their best, statistically, their best cornerback. But Stephon Gilmore should have been over on DK Metcalf more. And maybe they didn't have him on there because Stephon Gilmore is long in the tooth. And he probably couldn't keep up with the speed. So they put Bland on him because he is a younger cornerback. Keep him up on that. I mean, but at that same time, Metcalf's a beast. The thing is, you knew he was going to get what he got, but he still didn't beat you. He didn't take over the game. He got that big touchdown there at the beginning, but he didn't do anything else till later in the game. They were able to keep him shut down, to keep him down, and give him dink and dunks, and that was it. So, I mean, the defense finally did what they needed to do there at the end, but it was bend, not break, is what it looked like. Now, maybe that's a good test for you to get ready, so you're not. They got humbled a little bit before they went up against the Eagles again, because I think that they came in with a little bit of a swagger, thinking, "Hey, we can do whatever. We're going to blow this team out by 40. We don't need to really." Like they normally do, like they did against Arizona, where Arizona whooped their butt with Josh Dobbs earlier in the season, gave them that first loss. But that is neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the Eagles
the Eagles got spanked.
The Eagles got spanked by San Francisco, and I saw all the memes of, the kid with the star on his head taking pictures of the other kid with San Francisco beating up the kid with the Eagles, going, every Dallas fan watching this, which of course everyone did. I thoroughly enjoy watching the Eagles get just beat down. And as many times as I've said it, we've all agreed that this Eagles team is not the same caliber team that they were. Yes, their records said they were the best, but they weren't. They are not.
What's funny is even Derek Carr mentioned that they should bench Hurts and play Mariota, and they would win more games with Mariota. And I'm like, Derek Carr, shut up, you're an idiot. But like, it's just like the craziness of the Eagles season.
In Houston, that makes no sense.
I think maybe Derek Carr's trying to warm up for a broadcasting career afterwards, because he has not looked great there in New Orleans either. But this team yes, A.J. Brown is still a beast. They've got some great defensive players.
Yeah.
And Swift is looking good. He is really looking a lot better than he did in Detroit. But at the same time, this team just doesn't seem to have that flair that they had last year. And this beatdown now, as much as I enjoyed it, did I really want them to get embarrassed right before they came to play the Cowboys? Because now they've got the chip on their shoulder. That's why I'm glad at least that Seattle humbled the Cowboys right before this, so they're not coming in with the swagger where they would get just annihilated and embarrassed on their home field. I think this has the setup for a very good rivalry game. We're going to see a good game. Now, as much as after San Francisco,
you could win this division if you actually win this game, which is crazy to think
there's
about.
There's a possibility that could happen. There's still things need to fall in the right way. But San Francisco's now embarrassed the two best teams in the NFC. Just embarrassed them. And after San Francisco embarrassed Dallas, I gave up on it. So I'm done. We're not doing that. I still feel that same way. I'm not turning back on my comments earlier. I'm standing by them. But I will feel more confident about this team and Dak if they can come out, play a solid game, and win. I'm not saying they need to come out and blow out the Eagles. They don't need to do what San Francisco did. What they need to do is they need to come out, play a solid game, a turnover-free. They need to quit getting so many damn penalties. It was absolutely ridiculous that game against Seattle.
Of the Mike McCarthy team.
It was. That is the two most penalized teams in the league, and it was embarrassing.
It was. It was bad. It was like every time somebody moved or got a ball, it's like, oh, flag. There's a flag. You sneezed on somebody.
The last 2 minutes of each half were just flag, 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 flag. They took 30 minutes. It was absolutely absurd. Now, I understand there's some things you need to call, and maybe the refs are getting a little too gung-happy on throwing the flags, but still, you've got to play solid football. And if they come in, play solid football, keep the penalties to a minimum, no turnovers. No turnovers.
Well, Dak's no longer in the top of interceptions, so.
He's not, but still, no turnovers. Come in, no turnovers, keep your penalties down, and win solidly.
Well, also, too, and I think just to comment on the no interception deal is that, to me, there shouldn't be any excuses for Dak to throw interceptions because, you have names in the secondary, but are they really that good anymore? Or are they just names that you knew yesteryear that were good? Like Darius Slay, to me, he had a horrible game. James Bradbury, horrible game. Kevin Byard, who they picked up for the Titans at the deadline, horrible game. These are names that you know and names that are on paper like, hey, it looks like your secondary is really good because you know those players. But are they even really good anymore? To me, Brock Purdy killed them in that game on Sunday.
4 touchdowns, ridiculous.
And if Dak Prescott cannot expose that secondary, I don't know what. To me, in my opinion, this is the last time for Dak to show that he is a great quarterback. Because, that sounds harsh, but we've played this game, no pun intended, for almost 8 years now.
He's the longest tenured quarterback for one team in the league right now. And
you have to throw at least 300 yards. I don't want to see one interception from him.
Before this last week, everybody was talking about Dak was the MVP, but right now, after Purdy whipped the Eagles like he did, now Purdy is now being talked as the number one front runner for the MVP. So at that same time, now I think that's a little premature for that, but at the same time, you can't fault what the guy did. And if Dak wants to prove, hey, I can get this monkey on my back, I can lead the team, which I don't think he can. If he thinks he can do it, if he's wants to prove me wrong and prove the doubters wrong, he needs to come out and have a 3-4 touchdown, 320-yard game. No interceptions. He needs to come out and have that. This is a time for a statement game.
It's a must.
Well, I got a question for you guys real quick, though. With recent news of McCarthy going in for an appendectomy this morning, they got reported down here in Dallas. They're saying he should be good to coach the game, but if he doesn't, Dan Quinn will officially be the head coach. Still call the defense, but the OC is going to call the offense. Who would you rather have, Mike McCarthy back or Schottenheimer?
Schottenheimer is the offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Who would you rather have calling the plays, Mike McCarthy or Schottenheimer?
Are you kidding me? Jeff. Oh, Mike McCarthy.
Okay.
Brian Schottenheimer, the only reason he's employed right now is because he's a yes man to Mike McCarthy. The reason for firing Kellen Moore in the offseason to begin with was to have a yes man that would support Mike McCarthy in any scenario he did or he has in terms of play calling. So Schottenheimer, if McCarthy's not able to coach the game on Sunday, Schottenheimer's just going to call McCarthy's plays. It's not like he's going to abandon what Mike McCarthy would have called to begin with. So I think really his absence from an offensive play calling standpoint is irrelevant.
Well, he's got to call the plays, but let's say like it gets late in the game or whatever. It's like, I don't know what to do after this. I have no more plays left that he called.
Exactly what's going to happen. If McCarthy's not there, what he's going to be doing is he's going to be sitting on his phone and he's going to be calling Schottenheimer and telling him what plays to call during the middle of it. That's what he's going to be doing. Because if it's up to Schottenheimer, they would just run the ball every 3 plays and then punt it. That's all he does is run the ball. He doesn't throw. He's old school like that. It's just run, which that worked back in the 80s and 90s. But it doesn't work anymore.
Right. It's going to be like when Hugh Freeze was on the hospital bed calling plays for Liberty a couple years ago. McCarthy is still going to be very, very involved in this game, even if he's not present. And again, Schottenheimer's is simply a yes man for McCarthy. He'll have like a rule sheet. Here's what you do in this situation every single time. And maybe there could be a play or two to where Quinn would have some sort of veto power because I believe it. Because I remember a couple years ago, or maybe it's just as soon as last year, or recent last year, rather, with the Saints game when McCarthy was down. That may have been a couple years ago. But regardless of that being said, I don't think McCarthy, whether or not he's physically present, is going to have an impact on this game at all.
All right. So what are your calls on the Cowboys-Eagles? Win-loss point. What do you got?
It doesn't matter. The Ravens are going to beat everybody. The Ravens will beat everybody.
Oh, screw you.
Well, go ahead, Jeff, then. Announce your automatic
Give me your predictions. Give me your predictions.
Go, Jeff. We're waiting.
I think. Well, I was waiting for your fake prediction to be over. Okay, so I think Dallas is going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it fairly easily. The reason being is that I think Philadelphia, from a run defensive standpoint, is really going to struggle in this game. I expect Tony Pollard to have a game. He might have his game of the year this year. I would like to see him get in the neighborhood of 100 yards. I think Dak Prescott could do the same, if not better, than Brock Purdy did against that Eagles secondary. I'd like the Cowboys win this game, somewhere in the neighborhood of 31-21 on Sunday night. And if they somehow, I feel like the defense kind of got a bad game out of the way on Thursday night against Seattle. But if Dallas were to lose this game, I think the mindset of not only obviously the fans, but of the franchise would change about what real progress this team has made under Mike McCarthy. This is, in my mind, it's the most important game of the Mike McCarthy era. They need to win this game.
Oh, yeah, because if not, he's fucking fired at the end of this year.
Yeah, because they'll lose to San Francisco. Because they'll lose to San Francisco.
But either way, this is not going to be Pollard's game. Sorry. This is not going to be Prescott's game. It was sloppy the first time these two teams met. It was very close. This is going to be something closer, probably to like 31-27, give or take, in my book. I think the Cowboys pull this out because they are at home. But it's going to be a very sloppy game. Not necessarily pretty, but it's going to be one on Dak Prescott's arm, not Pollard.
Yep. This is going to be a very sloppy game. I'm not I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to pull it out, but I'm going 27-24. Like it's going to be off a field goal, not last second field goal, but a field goal some point near the end of the game that's going to cause it there. I am only saying the Cowboys are going to win because it is in Dallas, and they, for some reason, actually now have a home field advantage that they haven't had since Jerry World opened. So,
Yes.
I mean, this year they're undefeated at home. They've looked great at home. They're playing well at home. So I'm giving them that. And also because they, got a little humbled there by Seattle that they're going to take this game a little bit more seriously and not come in, thinking their shit don't stink. And then getting completely waxed by a pissed off Eagles team that's coming off of an embarrassing loss.
The issue that I have with both of y'all, I mean, I understand that y'all both picked the Cowboys to win the game, so at least y'all did that.
You.
But, and so did I. No, my hesitation is like, y'all think it's just like, oh, I guess they'll win just because they're at home or whatever. You have no confidence in Dallas. Like, what's giving you any indication?
No, I don't. I lost confidence in the San Francisco game.
No, but tell me what the Eagles have done lately to show you that they're actually a legitimate team. That's the problem that
I'm not saying that they're legitimate. I'm saying they're pretty much equal in how they're overrated.
Yes.
That's what I was saying.
Exactly.
And I honestly, I think Dallas is just going to sit there and wet the bed like they always do. They're not going to push over the top because Dak is not the quarterback to push it over the top. Now, yes, is this a game to help prove it? Absolutely, yes, it is. But at the same time, I don't believe it till I see it. They have not given me any faith in Dak's tenure for me to believe that he can come in a big game and actually prove it. Yeah, he can go out there and wax the floor with the freaking Commanders and the Giants, who are on third string quarterbacks and are a first year starter, with a coach that's doomed to be canned at the end of the year. But come up and do it against the NFC champions from last year and then prove it, because they went to Philly and they wet the bed, just like they did against San Francisco, just like they did against Arizona. So that's the reason why I have no faith in them until they actually prove that they deserve me to have faith in them.
This is the first time the Cowboys won the game against a winning record, or a team with a winning record. And the first time these teams have been together. We have seen these teams play each other very recently, in fact. And the Eagles won that game.
Exactly. So that's why we don't have any faith. Before we go ahead and take a break, let's go ahead and jump quickly into the other big game of the season. 3 o'clock game for you guys that are in the Central Time Zone, 4 over here. Chiefs, Bills. Big game, I think, for both of these teams, especially after the Chiefs losing to Green Bay, knocking them out of the number 1 seed, and the Bills just struggling to get into the playoffs. This is a big game here for these two teams. And it is an Arrowhead. It is an Arrowhead.
It's going to depend on if the wide receivers for the Chiefs can actually catch the ball. Not named Kelsey, that is.
Well, true. Towney has been terrible. I mean,
Rice has been terrible. Tony's been terrible.
Sky Moore has been terrible. Their entire receiving core has been god awful this year.
Yeah.
They're not helping Patrick Mahomes in any way.
No. I mean, to me, I think this is a coin flip game, and I would not be surprised again if Buffalo won this game at all. The issue that I have with Buffalo is, again, the talent is there to win all these games. It's just that every single time Buffalo's been in a close game, they've lost. Because think about all the losses that Buffalo's
had.
6 points. 6 points in overtime.
One against the Jets when Rodgers went out.
And that's what I'm about to do with you right now. Go through all their losses. 6 points against the Jets. 5 points against Jacksonville. 4 points against New England. 6 points against Cincinnati. 2 points against Denver. 3 points against Philadelphia. So every time they've been in a close situation, they've lost. With the exception of the Giants game, which is the ugliest Sunday night football game I've ever seen. They won that 14-9 because the Giants suck so bad. The Bills have failed in every single close game situation. That was let's see, I believe week 5 or 6, if I recall.
They've been just disappointing all year long for being one of the Super Bowl favorites. Like everyone said from the get-go, this is Josh Allen's year. He's going to take the big step. Buffalo's, this is finally the year. But once again, they buffaloed it just like they always do. Mm-hmm. Whether they make it to the playoffs and then buffalo it, or they buffalo the whole season away. That's what Buffalo does. Now, do they still have a chance to get in the playoffs? A very thin chance. They need to win 4 out of the 5, if not all 5 of their last games. Yeah. But
well, I mean, Josh Allen has been a turnover machine too. Let's not forget that this year.
He can't get ahead of his own way.
He's got 13 interceptions right now. I can't even tell you. I think he's got at least 4 fumbles. So that's 13 interceptions and at least 4 fumbles.
He has not looked good. I mean, he's been decent because he's been on my fantasy team, so it's not like I haven't watched him. He's had good fantasy numbers. They're a top 5 team in scoring, and the only one in the top 5 in scoring that's not in playoff contention right now.
Right.
So it's not been good. It has not been good. Their defense has been very porous to what it's been the last few years. And
I don't understand how Josh Allen's just lost anybody. That defense should still be one of the top defenses in the league, but they're just not.
But something's not working. Something is not clicking.
Well, I mean, I think for the first time, even though the Bills weren't paying for it, they're getting exposed for not having a legitimate running game. They're able to get by without having a running game for so long because I think they underestimated the abilities of Josh Allen. Now they actually respect his ability to throw the ball. Defenses are adjusting to that, but they still don't have a running game.
And James Cook is not doing it. He's not.
He's a fine change. He's a fine change of pace running back, but he is not.
They should have been all in trading for Derrick Henry at the trade deadline. They should have reached out to Tennessee, and even Derrick Henry, even though he's at the end of his career.
That should have been the Cowboys.
I agree. The Cowboys should have done it. But if I was Buffalo, you're reaching out to these teams that are cellar dwellers that have a good running back. And yeah, Derrick Henry's a little late in his career, but at the same time, you put him in there, you have to respect that running game at that point, and then that opens up Josh Allen to do whatever you need to.
You got to give Derrick Henry about 20 carries a game at least, because he wears the defense down with his big size and his speed. But if you got Josh Allen passing there, I don't know if you've got enough for the ball to go around.
You're able to run him a few times. You're able to get them to respect the run because they have to respect Derrick Henry, because otherwise he's going to run through you like a bowling ball. Then you open up the pass game. Then as you get up 2 touchdowns, then you run Derrick Henry and wear them down at that point. That was how Tennessee did.
No, they just handed the ball to Derrick Henry every damn time.
Well, that's all they can do there, because Will Levis can't throw the ball, and Tannehill had a limp noodle for an arm.
So I think that's the main thing. Also, too, I think even though last year again this didn't come to fruition, but I think they're missing Brian Daboll from a creativity standpoint, and clearly. I mean, they're in flux offensively because they fired Ken Dorsey after the Monday night game. So clearly there's some offensive play calling issues or scheme issues that they have yet to resolve at this point.
Well, the way the Giants have been going, you think Daboll would probably want to be back in Buffalo because
yeah, exactly.
He might. You just be like, Giants, fire me, please.
Another thing, too, I want to bring up about this Buffalo Bills team is that I don't think this defense was very good to begin with at all. I don't think that. I think
hot take.
I think this defense was good enough to support a team that had a tremendous offense at the time. When the offense is struggling, this is just a mediocre at best defense. So, again, you look good, if your offense scores 47 points and you can screw around and give 28 or 25, and it's just like, oh yeah, their defense is really good too. Is it? is their defense really that good? Tell me someone on Buffalo defensively that you think of. It's just like, man, that's a really good defense.
Jeff, you just pulled it. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about
Milano,
that?
Jordan Pryor. I'll say those two.
Please.
Matt Milano's been a top-ranked safety. Matt Milano and Jordan Pryor. Matt Milano's been a top 5 safety in the NFL for the past 3 years. Matt Milano is the most coveted free agent defensively 2 years ago when he was a free agent.
Well, Milano's a linebacker, and he's almost 30 now. And
I know he is.
He had one good year, which happened to be last year. Tell me what he's done this year.
Anyway, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up. We need to go ahead and get ready to take a break. We're going to come back here in just a few moments where we're going to talk into the big controversy of the college football playoff. And welcome back from the break. Yeah, that was a quick stop off from the music there. But welcome back from the break. We're ready to jump in. There's the college football playoffs have been set, and this has been a huge controversy. The entire sports world is going insane about this. And we'll go ahead and state the obvious. Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama were all put in. And Jeff, you called this right before it came out on multiple platforms. We have photo evidence that you actually picked these teams to go in.
If the committee had the balls, you said.
You get a car. You get a car at this playoff.
And I've had these conversations with multiple people up here who, like in my Bible study on Tuesday. This actually came up before we started. They were talking about college football, and one guy goes, really the best teams are Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Washington. Those were the best teams to go. And I go, sir, no. Texas is in that conversation right now. I go, and Texas is better than Washington. They're going to beat Washington.
No, they're not. But that's another story.
Yeah, it's going to happen. You just wait.
They are.
They're the Huskies, and you're hard on for the Huskies with UConn. You're just a Husky guy. We know that.
Just because you like the Husky dog doesn't mean that
you have to pull for that mascot all the time. Anyways, we'll get into that here in a minute.
The discussion is: does FSU deserve to be in this or not?
And that was the conversation that we brought up.
Let's allow Porter to bring out the preview.
And that's the conversation that came up with this, because he then asked me, he goes, well, do you think Florida State should have been in it? And I go, well, no, I don't. And I go, they're expanding to the 12 teams next year. They didn't want another Georgia TCU national championship game. And not just national championship game, playoff game. Because if Florida State would have been there against Michigan, Michigan would have completely annihilated them and shown them what they are, which is what Georgia is going to do to them.
The fact that their starting QB got injured, and that's why they got 16-9 against Louisville. Yeah, it wasn't a pretty game.
And I've actually seen memes coming up after the Monday night game of saying that Jacksonville has been voted out of playoff contention because Trevor Lawrence got injured. I mean, that's just people overreacting. Situation.
That's also too, like, I don't like Richard Sherman going on his rant about, Alabama didn't do anything to hop FSU. There's no reason they should be there. I'm like, they beat the number 1 team in the league, or the number 2 team, I think it was the time, Georgia, because Michigan had moved up to 1 after Ohio State, I think. So, I mean, they did beat Georgia, and they're extremely hot right now, and they're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like you said, I mean, the SEC's had a down year. They actually, I think, people have been talking about it, 7-9 outside the conference. So they don't even have a winning record there. But that's not, to me, that doesn't immediately make the ACC that much better. Just because the SEC had a down year, which is what I think people are deflating different values.
The ACC had a good year. When you look at, we talked about earlier in the season, where you had Duke and North Carolina in the top 25.
Yeah.
I mean,
Louisville got in there too.
Louisville got in there for a while. Louisville helped upset Notre Dame season this year.
Yeah.
Took them out. And the thing when it comes down to it, though, is that Florida State is not that good. Even with their starting quarterback, they're not as good as Alabama. And for the last year of having a 4-team playoff, they wanted this to go off with a bang. They wanted to go off as the best playoff that they can actually put out there.
And they also wanted the almighty dollar.
Well, of course they want the almighty dollar. Florida State can bring some money, but not the same money that Alabama's going to bring.
Yeah.
Viewership-wise. People want to see Alabama. Whether they want to see them lose or see them win, people want to see Alabama. It's almost like the Cowboys. Almost.
I just think it's irresponsible to say that, oh, yeah, they did this because of the almighty.
I didn't say they did it because of the almighty dollar. I said it's another reason in favor of Alabama over FSU.
That is a reason.
They did it because Alabama is a better team than FSU, as I said at the start.
Okay. And the argument that got brought up to me was, well, FSU won it all. And I was like, well, what have you done? Well, Georgia's been the best team this whole year. How can they just lose and be out of it? I go, it's what have you done for me lately? And if you wanted to be in there, you should have beat Alabama. You had the chance. You had the chance to do it, and you didn't do it. So you don't get to go to the table if you lost there at the end. You should have won it all. You should have. Alabama ended up playing themselves back in to where after they lost to Texas and still were able to come in and beat you there at the end, which no one saw coming. I mean, I'm sure the Alabama fans saw it coming, but it's what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? And sorry, Florida State, you didn't play anybody all year long. The ACC, even though you had a couple teams that were in the top 25, is still it's the weakest of the Power 5. Well, I can't say the weakest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you can't say FSU didn't play anybody. They played Duke, they played Louisville, they played these North Carolina teams, but at the same time,
not on the same caliber.
Exactly. I'm agreeing with you, but I'm just saying you can't exactly say they didn't play anybody. They did play some teams, but Alabama has to run through like 10 top 12 teams just to finish the SEC.
Yes, and even those teams that aren't fully ranked have defenses and offenses that are ranked.
And that.
They beat the best team in the country.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying
Florida State's best game was beating an LSU team week 1. And another thing that's really just grinding my gears right now is the fact that ACC, they went 6-4 against the SEC this year. Okay, let's go through their wins and tell me how impressed you are at the SEC, or excuse me, the ACC. ACC, win number 1, North Carolina beat South Carolina. South Carolina didn't make a bowl game. And then Florida State beat LSU. Again, we discussed that week 1. Miami beat A&M. A&M's coach is going to get fired. Wake Forest beat Vanderbilt.
A&M's coach did.
And then Florida State. Yep. Well, that's what I'm saying. A&M's coach got fired. So, and then the other games are Clemson beating South Carolina again, and Florida State beating Florida, who did not make a bowl game. So, again, this conference, the ACC beat the SEC. No, they didn't. Garbage, middle of the pack ACC teams beat below average SEC teams. So, for people that are saying that record, they're full of shit and they're lazy. And
that's their only argument. That's the only argument because they're trying to find some reason to find out, well, we got screwed. Well, guess what? Yes, when you are undefeated in your Power 5 conference, you should. But at the same time, you're not the better team. You're not. You got screwed. Yes, you did. But guess what? Next year, you'll be fine. They're putting in the best teams. Deal with it. You're not one of the best teams. You're not.
Right. And what was the criteria? 4 best teams and then injuries and other outside things, whether it be injuries.
Even if they were on their starting quarterback,
coaches.
they would still be. I would still be fine with this right here because even with their starting quarterback, they're still not one of the 4 best teams. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they are either. And also too,
we're all agreeing that this is the team that should have made it.
We are all agreeing.
Yeah, but Louisville.
I would have liked to have seen Ohio State make it, but you're not getting the Michigan-Ohio State rematch. You're just not. They're not going to do that.
I don't think. Well, I don't think Ohio State did enough this year to warrant it, but that's a different conversation.
Because they ended up 7th with Georgia at 6.
And my thought is that if the goal is to pick the 4 best teams, which is part of their criteria, and then
that's what they said it was.
And you take injuries into account, which appear to be a part of the criteria of the committee too. We could debate criteria, but they followed their criteria, and this was the result that needed to happen. You cannot
throw a fit. I mean, Liberty went 13-0 too. They want to say, "Hey, Liberty's can't be in there."
Yes,
James Madison would have
been.
That's
my next point. Well, Liberty should have got in too. They went undefeated. So where does this line stop? So why are we not crying for Liberty? How come Liberty
because then the Florida State fans will say, well, they're not a Power 5 conference. Well, also, like Florida State, they didn't play anybody.
What does Power 5 even mean anymore? Just because
it doesn't mean anything anymore. It doesn't mean anything. It's now done. Power 5 is done.
And Pac-12 is dead, and they were a Power 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It's just like there's no such thing as the Power 5 anymore. Those days are over because, well, one, Pac-12 is gone because it's a Power 4. But secondly, it's just that there's no such thing as power conferences anymore, other than the exception of the SEC and the Big Ten. Because, Big 12 is a nice conference.
SEC, when it comes to football, their basketball is usually atrocious at SEC. Usually.
Yeah.
But Alabama and LSU have been good.
Kentucky's really been their only good team.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. Football runs.
But we can't refer to
We are talking
John
football
Calipari's
right
a douche.
Yes, agreed.
But we're talking about football and these conferences and teams know football runs the show. So there's only 2 relevant conferences right now, SEC and the Big Ten. And that's all it is in Notre Dame. So you have about 30-something teams that run the show right now. And so I don't think just because Florida State has this designation of Power 5, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. And I've said that multiple times, and I've already said it a couple times already here. You got screwed. Everybody acknowledges you got screwed. But at the same time, you can't. Florida State can't sit there. Their AD.
Florida State's going to sit there and say they are.
Well,
they're not.
Their head coach and their AD sat there and threw this whole hissy fit that we didn't get in. What does the regular season matter? Okay, but they can't sit there and look themselves in the mirror and go, "We are actually better than these 4 teams," because they're not. They are absolutely not better in any way possible.
How could you honestly go to sleep at night and just, again, I not to go over.
I mean, you can believe that maybe you have a chance and maybe you could show out, but no, it would be that Michigan team, even as much as we want to hate on Michigan and root against Michigan because of Harbaugh and everything else, or anybody else wants to do that about that Michigan team would absolutely wipe the floor with Florida State, like embarrassing, like exactly how I believe Georgia's going to do to them in the Rose Bowl. Georgia is going to wax them left and right, and that's why I want to see that happen. I want to see Georgia completely wax the floor with them and completely annihilate them, just like they did against TCU last year.
Let's not forget this too. Florida State's defense is the strength of their team, especially right now. And the defense is decent. And Georgia's offense is not exactly 5-star at the moment. But I still agree with you. Georgia will win Florida State easily. But
it's decent. But even even a great defense can't help you win when the offense can't get it continually gets off the field. If they can't keep long extended drives, your defense is going to get worn. Even the best defenses can't handle that, and will get exposed at some point.
yeah.
So to me, and you're running with a third string quarterback at this point, it's just not going to happen, especially against Georgia's defense.
Well, I think
Georgia's
they'll be back
got
to
a
their
very good
second
defense.
string at that time, because I think he'll be out of concussion protocol by that time for sure.
Probably, but still, Georgia has a very, very good defense. Very good defense, and they're going to tear through that offensive line of Florida State a lot easier than they did Alabama. Because Alabama's offensive line is so much better.
Yeah, they're literally elephants up front.
And also, too, out of the 133 teams in college football, if you took a poll of 133 coaches and asked them, would you rather play Florida State right now or Alabama? Tell me how many of those coaches would have said Alabama over Florida State.
I mean, when you've got
an idiot QB to take Alabama.
I think only one. It'd be Kirby Smart.
Yeah, true.
To get him back. To get him back.
Yeah.
No, he would do it again because he goes, we're going to beat him the next time. That's exactly who it would be. Kirby Smart.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't
get that chance.
No other coach. Yeah, true. No other coach would do that. No other coach would do it.
No, I'd say Steve Sarkisian would probably say it. He would probably go for it.
I don't know.
Sark would probably do it. He might.
The Oregon coach might, just to try to show out, but
he would definitely do it to show out.
But regardless, as my point is that everyone would rather play Florida State than.
Oh, absolutely. No. I agree with you completely. If you have the choice to play Alabama or Florida State at this time of the season, you want Florida State. That's a better chance for you to win.
Yes.
Anytime.
For sure. Because Michigan and Michigan, hell, they may even be an underdog when the line closes on New Year's Day. We saw
that is something to come up because it is Michigan, Alabama, and Washington, Texas. We talked a little bit about earlier and that Caleb's going with Huskies no matter what state they're from. He's rooting for a Husky.
It doesn't mean you get a Husky if Washington wins, Caleb. It does not mean you own a Husky if Washington wins.
Yeah, and Washington hasn't seen a defense like they have not seen a defense like Texas.
Offense down, you can hold Texas's down.
True, but they have not seen a defense like Texas because they don't play defense in the Pac-12. That's the reason it destroyed itself. One of the many reasons.
That's the reason. I was about to say.
One of the many reasons
you're going with.
One of the many reasons. But look, what defense in the Pac-12 that they've played is to the caliber of the Longhorns? What defense? This has been one of the top defenses in the entire league this year.
It has
entire country.
Times.
It has
at times. They want to be.
Have they?
And not to mention the number one safety, the starting safety for the Longhorns is going to miss the first half of the game.
You almost said
for a targeting foul. I almost did.
I mean, they're saving him for later. They wanted to give Washington a mulligan. They wanted to
give him a chance.
So they were ready to go. Yeah, give him a mulligan. But this is a defense that I'm not saying they're the best. They've shown, yes, they've had times, especially in the Oklahoma game, where they looked bad. But I don't think Washington has seen a caliber defense to this level. They haven't.
Not from a talent perspective. Exactly. You're exactly right, Chris. Not from an individual talent perspective, and also.
And I'm going to bring up originally Sweat. They're on the defensive line.
Yeah,
that's who I see him putting a big stamp on this game. I see him actually being the pardon me, the underground MVP if they are able to pull this game off, because you know what you're going to get from the offense and you know what's going to happen there. And they were as you said, Washington was able to hold down Bo Hicks and Oregon's fiery offense, but Sweat is a monster there on that defensive line, and they need.
I'm not saying they don't have good players.
Yeah, but I'm saying Washington needs to account for him, and if they don't account for him, he's going to put his stamp on this game.
Well, that's
and if
what
they
game
do
plans
account
are for.
him, true, but if they do account for him, they're going to have to bring other players over, and that's freeing up other defensive players to blitz the quarterback, getting covering up extra. This is going to be
if Washington was more of a run center team. If Washington was more of a run center team, it's Texas 1,000 times over. But that's a passing offense.
Right.
It is a passing offense, but I haven't seen.
And I know the rush is, like you said, is going to get something, but.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Say it. I was just for about an hour now.
I was just going to.
I know. I was going to. Porter's the huge Longhorn fan.
What I just said.
So he's going to basically stay on the Longhorn bandwagon. He's never hopped off. Like I said, I'm a Husky fan because of UConn, apparently. So I'm going to stick with the Husky
fan no matter what.
I don't want a Husky dog.
Go get
not want a Husky dog.
A Husky dog.
This is Texas.
Go get the dog.
In Texas will die. I do
not
want a
dog.
You're a UConn Husky. You're a Washington Husky. Just
go get the dog. You know you want it.
I mean, I am planning to get a dog soon, but it ain't gonna be a Husky. Now, Jeff, can you get to your stat so you can finish? Can you finish your, the stat?
Well, I never
that you were trying to say.
But I can go.
Well, that's my whole point: is you don't start, finish.
All right.
Okay, go ahead. Start.
Okay.
Go.
We broke Jeff. We broke
it. Go. Stop it.
Do it.
Because I know it's gonna happen again. I can't go.
All I'm hearing is excuses.
So I know this is gonna say something. Let's go start. But no.
I broke him.
I know, right? Well, back on to should we just go to Michigan and Alabama because Jeff's not gonna get this out.
I will
spit it out.
So
Virginia.
The key in this game will be whether or not Texas can establish pressure on Michael Penix. So, and I think that's why Devontae Sweat is the X factor in this game because as long as he's able to stop the run of Washington, I believe Texas will be able to get the pressure on the quarterback. And if Texas is able to get that pressure on Penix, he has not seen anything like this. I'll say certainly not Washington, but probably including his Indiana career as well in the Big Ten. So that's going to be, in my mind.
Never happened.
So in my mind, that's going to be the critical point in this game. Also, too, another thing.
We know what each team's strength is. It's Texas's defense. It's going to be Washington's offense, and who's going to be the number one out of those two options? That's what it is.
But also, too, another point that I was going to make is that again, skill positions. Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell,
Odunze, Phoenix. Don't get me started on the Washington O-line.
Okay, so no.
That's not skill players. Sorry.
So no, but my point is that with Mitchell, Sanders, and
Sanders is also missing the hat. Don't forget about that.
Oh, stop.
He got a stupid ass targeting penalty. I'm not going to stop mentioning it because he's an idiot.
So those are three guys that Washington hasn't even come close to facing to the caliber of all year long. And so I think that the initial key, I think we'll have a good gauge on how this game is going to come to place early on in the game is because one, Devontae Sweat is going to hopefully for Texas dictate the run and eliminate that from existing, and then you're going to get the pressure for the Texas defensive end and outside
Washington
linebackers.
Doesn't really run, so that's fine. He can stop the run. They don't really do the run. They have a run, but
You still have to have that threat, though, Caleb. So
Well, if you
just
do
like
with the Heisman winner back there.
well, he's
No,
not the
that's Chris
Heisman.
Jeffo.
He's
I
not the
know.
Heisman.
He's
It's
Not yet. Not yet.
it's Jaden
Alright.
Daniels is the Heisman. But
Right. Anyways,
No.
let's move on to which, to me, as much as I'm going to love this Texas Washington game,
and
me,
Dylan
this-
Johnson is 1,100.
I'm going to love this game. I think it's going to be a great game to watch, but it's still going to take the back seat to Michigan, Alabama. Michigan, Alabama is going to be the game. It's going to be because Michigan having the win record, and Alabama being Alabama, Nick Saban, especially with the controversy of them getting in over Florida State, this is going to take the top tier slot. It's going to. It's just that's what it is. I mean, when it comes down to it,
It's going to be the primetime game out of the.
It's going to be the primetime game
first
because
day.
they're not going to do Washington State and Texas. That doesn't sell as much. So
That's already determined. Texas, Washington.
Oh, they've got the schedule out there.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's a surprise then, but whatever.
They're starting
Like I said,
in the afternoon, and I think that's really just because.
Well, that's
Yeah, let's see,
probably
I'll pull it up.
to get more people to watch the Rose because it's on Pacific time then.
Well, yeah, and
Alabama, Michigan is
'Cause that
New
puts
Year's
it
Day
actually
at
that should put
5
it about
p.m.
prime time on
Eastern time, and
Eastern
then
time.
Texas, Washington is 8:45 Eastern time.
Yeah.
Eastern time. Yeah, 5 p.m. Michigan,
So
Alabama.
Alabama's still the
8:45
prime
Texas,
time game
Washington.
then.
Well,
That's going to be the
will
prime time game because they're doing the late game because
It's prime time.
Of course,
Texas
it's
is prime
West
time
Coast.
for us here.
Yes, but
East
8:45 you
Coast
have to
puts
be
it at, like,
a
7.
on the East Coast doesn't care about that game. That's why they're doing it. They care about Michigan. That's what they're going to care about to watch. Whether they want Michigan to win or lose, that's what they're going to care about. In Alabama. So it's going to be a late night for me because I'm going to have to watch that Texas Washington.
At least it should
game
be a
late.
weekend at least.
Oh, it's on Monday.
No, it's on a Monday. So
Oh,
no.
shoot. I thought they moved them to like
No.
Saturday now for the first week. and then-
No. Nope. Nope.
Those bastards doing us dirty.
But as far as the Alabama, Michigan, you want to talk about athletes that a team hasn't faced before? That's Michigan. I just don't.
Well, they faced nobody until they got to Penn State. Then they beat Penn State handily. And then
Penn State's offense, they fired their offensive coordinator not long after that. I mean, they looked terrible. Like they were inept on offense.
Mhm.
yeah,
And McCarthy
And
only
then-
threw for 60 yards in that game.
yeah, because they ran the whole second half. They didn't pass.
Yeah, Corum ran the second half.
They didn't
Exactly.
need to pass, is what they jokingly said.
The matchup
Um,
predictor right now for this game has Michigan with a 55.9% chance of winning this game, 44.1 for Alabama.
If they can pressure that rookie QB, he may return to his early season woes, and that may be something in Michigan's favor. Plus, if they can run still against Alabama and be dominant in the run, they're going to win the possession battle, and that's how they're probably going to win this game if they do.
And that's a tall,
Yeah, because this
thing to
defense has
ask.
been stout the entire year for
the
Alabama.
defense has been stout, and Alabama's always been stout against the run. It is extremely hard to run
That's
against.
because they
Alabama.
get giants recruited there. Like
That
everybody
is
at
very
Alabama on the
true.
O line or D line weighs at least 300 pounds.
They definitely feed them a bunch of boudin and get them up there on the gumbo and get them filled up and get them going down. Everybody down south knows about that. But yeah, really the only team that actually had any run against them was Texas. And I think a lot of that is because of Sarkisian coming from Alabama and having some knowledge of how that goes. He was able to use that to his advantage, which I think
Well,
for the past few
and
years,
the
Kirby
Alabama
Smart has
QB
used as well.
looked like a rookie at the time too.
He did.
It was very inaccurate and threw 2 picks that game.
He did, and the Texas defense put the pressure on him that really affected him during that.
Yeah, that was
Now,
the
of course,
first actual defense and pass
that's-
rush that he saw all
It's him
year.
being a freshman. But that's also, as we're talking about with Washington, and everything, he's now a 6-year starter after 4 years at Indiana and now 2 years at Washington.
Well,
instead of
the Alabama QB.
No, he's not exactly who's a freshman. I mean, that's the difference. But at the same time, it's the whole thing is seeing pressure that you haven't seen. He hasn't seen a lot of pressure in his career, but he is more experienced, so I don't expect it to affect him in the way that it affected Alabama at that time. But I do think for Alabama's quarterback, that was a good thing for him. It actually helped him grow at that point because they were able to do what they did the rest of the season to get themselves into the playoffs.
Well, they did also kind of switch around their QBs a couple times and finally went back to him.
Well, yes, they switched around. I mean, he wasn't looking good. He was able to readjust himself and get back into it. And sometimes that's what you need is to shuffle the cards and readjust your hand.
And Nick Saban's not afraid to do that, as we know from the national championship game where Tua came in and won that game.
Still can't believe that game. Still cannot believe that game.
It's nuts.
I think my thoughts on this game is I think Michigan is really good at playing Big Ten football. They're clearly the best Big Ten football team there is. They know how to dominate that conference. They know how to beat.
Well, they know all the signals.
Conference. Well,
very true.
That makes
you
it
can
easy.
say that, but the thing is,
call them the Michigan Astros.
Yeah. But on a serious note, though, I don't think they're.
Give myself a laugh track.
All right.
Well, anyways,
I need that in my everyday laugh.
Well,
I
that's
tell
a
dad
mute border.
jokes.
Right.
I need to carry on. I tell dad jokes. Yeah, they'll get a laugh from everyone.
But the thing is, I don't think Michigan's really good at adapting to new situations well. Look at 2 years ago against Georgia. They got completely obliterated by them. And
look at last year at TCU.
And look at last year against TCU when they gave up 51.
I will say this for a second on TCU. TCU supposedly found out Michigan was stealing signs and switched them right before the game, but still used the original signs, but mixed in dummy signs right after them. So supposedly they were using fake signs to throw the Michigan D off, and that's how they actually won that game, supposedly.
Well,
supposedly, which is smart.
They still picked off off Max Duggan twice in that game. So, and I don't. To me, I think the issue for Michigan in that game was DeMercado just completely obliterated Michigan's defensive line. Why? Because Michigan hadn't seen any remote athletes on not only from the running game, but from even an offensive line perspective. Also, too, they hadn't seen anything from anything like Quentin Johnston their entire
Mr. Drops.
Not the college level. Not the college level.
Oh, at the college level, he had him, but he had a good game against Michigan.
And also, too, when you make your quarterback uncomfortable, which TCU did last year, and if TCU was able to do that last year, Alabama can certainly do that this year. When you force McCarthy to throw if you're TCU last year and throw McCarthy to throw 2 interceptions, you don't think Alabama can do at least the same, if not better than that? I think so.
Good.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get you guys' predictions. Okay. We could even do those later on. It's going to be a couple months before,
But no, let's do some early predictions.
Well, let's do early predictions. Let's do
2 early predictions.
All right.
So we won't guess the champion, but just the 2 winners.
Caleb, go ahead and tell me who you have winning these first 2 playoff games.
Yeah, Washington and Alabama.
Washington and Alabama. Who do you have winning the national championship?
That one is a tough one. Probably Alabama. Yep. Agreed.
If it's Washington, Alabama, I see that happening as well, too, if it's the way that goes. All right, Jeff, who you got?
I have Alabama and Texas. And This is really tough.
That's why I said they did a good job with these teams this year.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they put him in. And I'm going to go with Texas again.
Yep. The Longhorn fan agrees with you.
I agree. I've got Texas beating Washington. I have Alabama beating Michigan. And as much as it's hard to say that Texas will beat Alabama twice in 1 year.
That was my hesitation.
The hardest part of it. But I'm feeling it. I'm feeling this defense. I'm feeling Quinn Ewers and this offense, and going with Texas over Alabama.
Because how good could Jalen Milroe? I mean, be? I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. They almost lost to Auburn. Should have lost to Auburn. 4th and goal from the 31.
Texas almost lost to K-State.
And you
probably should have lost that game. Almost lost to TCU.
Well, the fucked up thing about
everyone's got close games.
Think about this. What if there was a scenario where Alabama lost that game, right, to Auburn, and then they still beat Georgia, the SEC championship game? What would it have
probably
been?
Have SSU. You have FSU, most likely.
Over Texas or Georgia?
Over Georgia. Texas would have got in. If you would have had everything the same and Texas beat Oklahoma State the way they did.
Texas would probably still be 3, and Florida State would be 4.
Maybe. I don't know. And that's why I'm asking y'all.
Well, we don't have to worry about that at least. The last game I want to talk about is come this Saturday, the Army-Navy game. One of my favorite games of the year. I think it gets overlooked every single year. And I think there's a lot of
probably because people don't enjoy the run.
No, they don't.
Basically every play.
But still, it's just a good tradition. It's a good game to watch. And this one actually means something that even though it's played, in Annapolis, Maryland, back in Navy's home, Army wins this game. They actually take the Commissioner's Cup this year. It's been with Air Force the last 2 years. But if Navy is able to pull the upset and beat Army, then that cup will stay with Air Force for another year. So we have cup, ramifications on the line in this game. And this is a game I look forward to every year. Even before I married into a family that's got a lot of veterans in it. Game I've always looked forward to. I've always enjoyed watching this game as much as I still watch the Air Force, Army, Air Force, Navy games when they came on as well too. Just always loved the military academy games. As they say, it's the one game, it's one of the 3 games in the year where the players on the field are actually willing to lay their life down for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel bad for these teams in the sense that both of them were 5 and 6 coming into this game, and because of that, neither team is going to get a bowl game. So this will truly, in fact, be their bowl game, which sucks, as I would have liked to see at least one of these military academies get a bowl game. And
was Air Force not getting one?
No, well, I'm talking about Army and Navy.
Yeah.
Air Force, yes, but
Air Force
isn't a bowl game. I'm just talking about Army Navy to begin with.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it'll be the last game of the year for them, and also too, from a selfish standpoint, just out of a curiosity standpoint, the over/under on this game is 27.5, and it'll just be interesting to see whether or not that goes under the total points or not. Because we've seen it with Iowa twice now, to where it gets Nebraska that ended up going under, as did the Rutgers game, and
Iowa's done it a couple of times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the Iowa Rutgers and then Iowa Nebraska game that went under. So I think Army is the better team. Unfortunately, from an offensive perspective, this year they haven't really been able to produce the running game like they have in
both teams
recent
have
years
really
past.
underperformed this year.
Yeah, and also too, and you have to remember this as well with these military academies is that they can't utilize the transfer portal like all these other schools can now, obviously, for obvious reasons. And so that's why so even if the play seemed old school to begin with, at least they could win games. Now the talent level isn't even there as well. So, it's unfortunate, but regardless of that being said, as you said, Chris, is that this is a fun game to watch. I'm certainly going to watch it Sunday afternoon. So it's going to be a blast. I hope it's a fun game to see. I hope it's a close game. And again, I'll be curious to see whether or not it goes under or over 27.
It's the last regular season college football game of the year. So it's always, to me, a nice little stamp on the end of the season before you go into the bowl games season.
I think so too. And go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I've always still agree with my wife's late uncle, his opinion on the military academies is what they should do is they should take, if you're a good player, let these guys, instead of serving out, in the military,
go be recruiters.
You should let them get drafted and they become a recruiter in the city that they get drafted by. And that would solve your problem of not getting this talent, because what really affects them is they have linemen that have to make weight. So, and it's not making weight, it's making weight for the military. They have to be to a certain standard. So those offensive linemen,
you got to run a certain number of laps.
Completely undersized when it comes to players at other college universities that don't have to be at 180 at all times and have to be there for that because of their military, expectations. Right. So you're going to always get blown off the line when you're going up against, 6'5", 300-pound guys. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. So to be able to actually change it to where, okay, now these guys are recruiting for the Army, because they're not going to be recruiting just football players coming in. They're going to be recruiting people to come into the military. The guys are going to be in your infantry. You're going to be, your naval recruiters, bringing guys in people that are going to be men and women that are going to be serving this nation. But you have a face then there. You have the guy you've been watching on Sunday, dominate there at the NFL. Then you go in the recruiting office and he's right there, hey, like shaking your hand, and you get to meet him and everything. You're not having to pay anything. You're actually getting. It would be a huge help to the military recruiting industry, just because they're having problems trying to fill in these slots now in the military. That's a big, big problem.
100%.
And that would give them a boost that would help out along the way. So maybe they'll start listening to our podcast. They can, take that idea and maybe run with it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, it's right there. All right. Any of the things you guys want to talk about here in college football before we?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Go for it.
One thing that we do need to discuss, as it is a very important award. Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, and Marvin Harrison Jr. were invited to New York.
The Heisman finalists.
For the Heisman. And I'll ask y'all, who is your Heisman?
We already knew Caleb's. We already know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's Husky.
But Michael Penix has had a statement game against Oregon. He's got the stamp. And he had it again in the comeback game, which everyone loved as well and called it a comeback game. The only person I can see beating Michael Penix or Penix is Bo Nix. The guy threw 3 interceptions the entire year. 3. Now, we could say he didn't face any defenses, but he did. Oh, I'm sorry. But 3 interceptions is still impressive, I should say. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Now, your boy, I know who you want to have, Jaden Daniels, if I remember right, Jeff. He had 4 interceptions.
I haven't said anything yet.
Well, sorry, then go ahead and say your pick then. We don't mind Michael.
He asked us, so I'm saying mine before he says his.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Ask you first.
I think Phoenix is going to win it. I think he's going to end up getting it because they always give his quarterbacks. But screw you, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm picking Marvin Harrison Jr. because even though
I would love that.
They lost, they didn't lose because of him. Whenever they got him the ball, he dominated. He took over. He, to me, should win the Heisman because I think he's been the best player out there. I think Phoenix has played against subpar, talent. Bo Nix hasn't been able to beat Phoenix, so that rules him out. And to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been the best player in college football, in my opinion, every game that I've gotten to watch. I get to watch I get to see a lot of Ohio State games up here up north. Yeah. And honestly, watching him play, he is heads and tails better than everybody out there. He's better than his dad. And that's a big statement to say.
That is a big statement.
But it's true because when he's on the field and you get him the ball, he does special things with it. And he has made.
And he had 900-yard receiving games.
Mm-hmm. Just amazing.
Something crazy.
So to me, he's not going to get it because he's not a quarterback, and that's a damn shame. But I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr. That's who I'm going.
I like it.
Well, I would love to see Marvin Harrison Jr. get it as well.
Oh, yeah. I would love it.
Because, I'd take, actually, at the start of the season, I picked him to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
And I think, particularly in that Michigan game, he showed how valuable he is. This is why he is going to be a top 3 pick in the draft. I would say, though, who I give my Heisman Trophy to is Jaden Daniels because, plain and simple, he's the best. He's the best player this year. He's the best player in college football.
What is his statement wins? When was his Heisman moment this year is the problem I have with him. It's the only problem. I'm not saying he's not a great player. He's a great player. But when you get that statement moment, I think that pushes you over the top.
So, and this is something that people need to realize, too, about the Heisman Trophy. By definition, it's not the most valuable player. It's the most outstanding player.
Exactly, which is why I say you need a moment. Where's your Heisman moment this year?
Well, I think Jaden Daniels consistently has proven he's the best player in college football.
Lost the opening
Why
game.
haven't we been talking about him all year?
He lost the opening game.
His name is coming up
started
here
this
now
whole
at
Florida
the end.
State nonsense.
His whole name's coming up here, there at the end. I don't see why he's been brought up at all.
So
sorry, I don't. It's showing right now. Like I pulled up on ESPN, his Heisman-worthy moment is against Florida, where he threw 3 touchdowns and ran for 2 more against Florida. It's Florida. I know that's your team, but Florida sucked this year.
They did.
What about Missouri? Did you see that game?
I'm just going off
what they're putting.
Nobody saw the Missouri game.
Yeah. Well, I did. I did, okay? Because he dominated not only throwing the football, but running the football as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Went on the road and won that Missouri game.
Single-handedly, even though he has Neighbor out there as one of is probably the number 2 wide receiver ranked. He's got Neighbor out there as the number 2 wide receiver,
right,
and he did it by himself. You say
in that particular game, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
In this ESPN that I pulled up right here.
Again, Malik Neighbors. Again, I want to preface this by saying Malik Neighbors had a fantastic game. That game too. but you cannot discount Jane Daniels' performance in that game.
I think you're loving the two factor or the run and pass, which is kind of a phase right now. People love that in the QB right now.
And so a guy runs for 1,000 yards or 1,100 yards, and they're just like, "Oh, Jeff, you're just in a phase. Grow out of it." Okay.
You'll grow out of it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll grow out of it.
I didn't say he's not a good QB or anything.
No, let's bring back the statue quarterback. Let's bring back Drew Bledsoe for everyone. See how that works.
On this ESPN Heisman Tracker, they have Daniels as the clear number 1, Haynes Jr. 2, Nix 3, Milroe from Alabama.
Daniels, though.
The freshman from Alabama, Milroe at 4, and Marvin Harrison Jr. at 5.
I don't want to see Milroe get any fucking votes at all. I mean, to me,
he'll get more than Harrison Jr. because he's a quarterback. That's the only reason he will.
I would do
if he does.
I would do Daniels, Harrison Jr., Penis, then Bowman.
Did you call it a penis?
He did.
What?
I just want to. I want to hear the laugh track.
There you go.
You're welcome.
Go.
All right. Well, we take a little break here from college football. We'll touch back in here in the next segment in just a moment. What the f***? And welcome back. Here from the break. We're ready for everyone's favorite segment, What the F with Jeff. So, Jeff, what the F? Trying different music here. We'll see if we like it.
Or I could just listen to that all day and that what the F from Jeff.
I'll give you two one more time. It's non-copyrighted, so we don't have to worry about it.
Right. It's too short. Sorry, it's sampling.
Fair. Mm-hmm. But my WTF, it kind of, not kind of, it does piggyback off our last segment of college football and the need for expansion of the college football playoff. I'm glad this is the last year that this is happening. Florida State got screwed over. Also, too, think about Georgia in this scenario. You win, you're considered the best team in college football.
2 years.
And you lose one game, and then it's like, oh, yeah, sorry, you're not getting in. You're not even going to be considered getting in, considering you're ranked 6. So, in my opinion, it's definitely good for expansion. However, I will say this. I would have this expand to 16 teams.
Yeah, the 12 is kind of weird. 16, but that's what the FCS is in. The FCS is who is 16 team.
I think they're a little.
Let me check.
More
That's
than that.
A lot of effing teams. That means there's going to be a lot of bad football when you get to finals.
Okay, but
teams are going to be run the hell over for the first round or two.
Okay, if you want to say that, fine. But
honestly, I'd be happy with 8. 8 sounds like a good number to me. If you can't get in the top 8, sorry.
All right, well, that's fine, Caleb. I don't necessarily disagree.
I know
with
you
that
don't. You've doubled 8. You went to 16.
No, but what I'm saying is I don't necessarily disagree with your opinion, but NCAA went to 64 before the first 34 years of the NCAA tournament. Did a 16 beat a 1? No, they didn't. So why do we have those games?
Why do we have the NCAA B games? The 64 playing games, or
no? What I'm saying is, why do we have the 16 seeds get in? Why did we expand it to 64 teams? Oh, well, those.
I don't think it should have been. I don't think they should.
but just think about the
I
excitement.
mean,
that's
yeah,
created.
you're saying one time in the history of the tournament. Oh my gosh, it has to happen at least one time. There's an exception to every rule, as they say. It's going to happen at some point in human history. It probably has happened.
Okay, but Caleb, my point is now it's actually
why we have
happened.
warning labels too. People are stupid.
But it's actually happened twice.
I still think we need to get rid of warning labels altogether and let.
I agree with that.
Let natural selection take care of it.
Warning labels is not the subject of WTF with Jefferson.
I know. I think the football should be expanded for sure, but I'm saying 8 is the limit. After that, why are you putting? This is a sport that has known issues with physicality, brain damage, long-term leg. I mean, you could have some serious injuries from football. And that's one of the reasons we love it, is because it is a dangerous collision-driven sport.
Okay, but
I mean, you're going to put these college students through that?
These precious college students that don't go to school. And
we don't know if not all of them do
already.
Yeah, I would say they do. But I'm saying, what are you going to add on? Another 3 or 4 tournament games to get to the championship?
These college kids can't handle it.
Hey, well,
they don't mind. They don't mind adding games.
I want to retweet my statement from earlier. I pulled up the 2023 playoff bracket for FCS football. 24 teams.
Exactly. That's my point. I thought
24 teams. 28. Full bracket.
And I honestly
would
not watch probably the first couple of weeks of that shit. I wouldn't, because it's crap football, and I'm not going to give it the fucking ratings. I know I'm in the minority in that regard. You're not going to
watch the Richmond Spiders? Come on. No. You got to watch the Richmond Spiders. Come on.
I'm not going to fucking watch that.
Get on there with that.
But
Delaware Blue Hens?
No.
Come on.
No, but to address your point, Caleb, you say that, but just think about, and again, I'm only asking for 16.
I know.
What I'm saying is, have we not just randomly watched a 7-10 game between like San Francisco and Virginia Commonwealth on a Thursday night to end the NCAA tournament, March Madness Thursday night?
Because a tournament is entirely different. The tournament is entirely different.
Would this not be a tournament?
They have shots to beat these teams. Are you going to tell me Richmond Spiders could beat Alabama in round 1? No,
they're not playing Alabama.
Could you tell me
the blue fucking is? I know. I'm just throwing it out as a team. You're going to tell me the slowly number 16 is going to beat Alabama or Michigan, FSU, anybody?
Hold on, Caleb. This is what I'm saying.
Football is different. Those teams cannot beat those other teams.
Did UMBC have a shot at being UVA? No.
Yes.
They won.
They had a shot. UVA sucks.
Because you saw the result. Did Fairleigh Dickinson have a shot at being Purdue? Absolutely not. But they did it.
You keep picking teams that suck.
It took 35 years.
Pick me a good
team.
Hey,
it happened.
Are you talking about the tourney again? Are you talking about the tourney?
Talking about the basketball tourney.
No, shut up. We're not talking about the tourney. That is an entirely different sport. Entirely different tournament.
Tell me why Toledo one day just couldn't randomly beat Alabama one day in 35 years.
Because it's not going to fucking happen.
The 16th seed was
Toledo's not going to beat Alabama unless Brandon Miller's secretly injured like he was last tournament.
I mean, if you did 24 like FCS, that's basically the whole top 25 getting in. That's ridiculous. 16. But
I'm asking for 16. So can I
know.
At least provide my 16-team scenario?
That's what I'm gonna do. If this season was going as the way that next year we're going to 12, but if we're going to 16, but it was with the teams this year, of course we know the top 4. Your 5 seed, Florida State, Georgia 6, Ohio State 7, Oregon 8, Missouri 9. Penn State, 10. Ole Miss, 11. Oklahoma, 12. LSU, 13. Arizona, 14. Louisville, 15. Notre Dame, 16.
So you're gonna have. Let's just say you give a bye then to the top 2 teams for the first year. So you'd have Michigan and Washington on bye, and you'd have Texas versus Louisville, Arizona versus Alabama.
No, you'd have Texas versus Notre Dame.
Oh, 16.
You go in 16,
16, right? My bad.
Which that's a game I would like to watch. And that game right there is going to bring
Irish.
Okay, that'd be a fun game, but that's not.
That would be a fun game.
It's crap.
That game's going to get. That game would get top tier because of Notre Dame and Texas. That would get top tier.
It would get huge ratings because those teams. But I ain't fucking.
The ratings would be through the roof, but that's not really.
Absolutely, watch that game. You're not going to watch that game.
Oh no!
Why not? Why are you not going to watch that game?
That's a shitty team.
No, you would watch
I've already said I'm in the minority. I've already said I'm in the minority. I don't watch football. I know a lot of people watch just any random fucking team that somebody puts up. They'll fucking watch it at 11. 2, whatever the fuck time it is, they'll fucking watch it.
That would be a prime time game, hands down. Prime time.
I'm not saying it wouldn't, but I'm just saying I'm not gonna waste my fucking time with shit football. I have a fucking life.
You're gonna watch that fucking.
You don't have a life. You stop it. You do not have a life. Don't you lie to us.
My bad. I apologize.
Sit there and give that full face lie to me. No, sir. I will call your bluff.
Fair enough. But no, like I said, I'm in the minority. I'm not sitting every fucking Saturday to watch fucking shit games. If there's a good game on, a top 10 team or whatever, or someone that seems like an interesting matchup, yeah, I'll watch it. But if it's fucking Rutgers versus some no-name shit, no, I'm not watching that.
That's not Rutgers versus no-name shit. That's University of Texas versus Notre Dame.
And Texas is going to wipe the fucking floor with them. I don't give a shit what happens in that game. Texas is already going on. It's like you look at the NBA tournament. It's already fucking predetermined who's going to fucking go. We know the Warriors are going to be there every year.
All right. I'm giving you this scenario, and Jeff, no response on this. Caleb, I'm just going to go through these matchups from 3 to 16, all the way down, what they would be. And I'm going to do it quick. I'm going to go through and you just
let me go through it, and I'll tell you which ones I'd watch. I'll tell you which ones I'd watch.
I'm going to go. No, I'm going to go.
No. We got time for that shit.
Yes, we do. Texas.
Yes, we do.
Okay, we know Texas. Georgia. That's probably an interesting one.
Hey, stop.
I can watch his little fucking Heisman candidate stick around.
Say yes or no. Alabama, Louisville.
Alabama, Louisville, no.
Florida State, Arizona.
No.
Georgia, LSU.
Yes.
Ohio State, OU.
No.
Really?
Nope.
Okay. Oregon, Ole Miss.
I think you mean Ohio State, right? Because you said Georgia before.
No, it was Ohio State, OU. It's Oregon, It's Oregon, Ole Miss.
Oregon, Ole Miss.
Oh yeah. No.
Missouri, Penn State.
That one maybe, just because it's not.
I'm watching every single one of those games. I
already said I'm in the minority. I know this.
I know that. I know you're in the minority.
Will sit and watch. It's like NFL games. I don't give a shit what's on Thursday night, but there are people fucking watching that shit every Thursday and every fucking Monday. That is. Crap games.
If it's a game that's worthy of watching, otherwise no. No, I didn't watch this last Monday night.
That's what I'm saying, but the ratings say there's going to be a whole bunch of fuckers that are watching those games.
Yeah, but don't call me an NFL sheep, though. The only reason I watched this.
You are an NFL sheep.
No, I'm not going to. I didn't watch a goddamn snap of that Bears-Vikings game. And if you think I
you want a golf clap?
I didn't watch any of the Cincinnati-Jacksonville. So.
And normally I wouldn't have watched.
I know, right? Normally we'd be like, you didn't miss shit. But that was actually a good game. I'll give it that much.
People that I shall not name put a gun to my head and made me watch that game, and it worked.
Yep. That was a surprisingly decent.
I never even got. Can I prepare my scenario? What I would like to do.
Well, prepare your 16
do it quickly.
You know, considering that I thought this was nice. It's our set. It's all of our set.
Well, we're trying to help you out here. We've already taught college football, so
that's fair. Anyway.
Play the digging song.
Roll out the barrels.
So here's what I would do, because Pac-12 is about to cease to exist.
It's done.
Yeah.
So they've got some weird agreement with the Mountain West, but they don't have a new TV contract at all.
Right. So my thought process would be is if you're going to have everyone be Division I level and in theory play the same level of competition, regardless of if teams refuse to play them or not, regardless of how horrible the conference is. I think every conference champion should be allowed to participate in a playoff to win your league. Yeah, you might get your ass kicked. Yeah, Alabama, or let's just say this year, in my mind, let's just say Michigan would be playing the worst conference champion, which would probably be
Sun Belts or whack.
Which would be
maybe ACC and SMU.
No, yeah, whatever it is. In this scenario, it would be.
You're talking every conference. You're going
every conference. Yeah. Every conference gets a seed.
Every conference should, in theory, get an opportunity, and that's how you get 16 teams into this deal. Yeah, some of them will be boring, but do you think that people wouldn't watch? Yes, they still would, because you want to know why? Because people watch top teams play dog shit, because that's why the NCAA tournament exists. CBS does not mind airing the 116 game as long as Kentucky is involved, as long as Duke is involved, as long as North Carolina is involved.
You're talking basketball again. This is football.
I know.
He's trying to relate it.
I know what you're trying to do.
It's the same shit.
I know what you're trying. Don't get.
These are people. These are
calm down. Calm down.
No, what I'm trying to
calm
say
down.
Is,
I know what you're saying.
No, just let me finish real quick. I just want to make one point. You want to know why I say this? Is because I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tennessee volunteer fans would pay $70 to watch a bullshit regular season game between Tennessee and Louisiana Monroe just to see their volunteers play, even though they knew they were going to kick their ass and win. People will watch if they care.
True, but but that is also going to look at major market size when they're actually doing this, and having those smaller conference winners, they're not going to draw the big draw that a lot of other teams have.
Georgia, as we said in that rating, according to your new 16 with conference championships, would be out of this playoffs. They would not even be in this in the 16
No, they
game.
make it. They make it.
How do they make it?
You said the conference winners.
Conference winners.
No, all the conference winners, and then the rest being at large. So
So I don't know how many conferences there are fans.
Well, there'll be 9 when the Pac-12 becomes extinct after this year. So there'll be 9, and then you have 7
there's more
at
conferences
large.
than that, but
There'll be 9 plus 7 at large. That's what it would be.
Then how do you see them?
Yeah.
Are the at large at the end?
Yeah, are they below the conference champions?
No.
Or you do it by record?
You do it by
power ranking.
Strength of schedule?
No, you do it by power ranking. Selection committee.
Well, then when it comes down to it, the 7 at large are going to be ranked higher than the winners of those lower
Most normal, yeah.
Sure, just like they are now. Just like they are in the NCAA tournament for basketball.
True.
And so, Miami of Ohio, they
beat Toledo in the MAC championship. Sorry, Toledo. You were the better team all year long, but just like in the NCAA tournament, you lost your conference tournament final. And so you're not getting a spot. That sucks, but that's the way it is. And so therefore, Michigan, should have won the game. So then it's Michigan against Miami of Ohio in the 116 game. And everyone wants to say buys or whatever and say, oh, these games don't matter. They're going to kick their ass. Again, we play 116 games. Everyone still loves it. Everyone will still watch these games. Why? Because the national championship is on the line. And these schools that are going to
I feel like you're trying to make the NBA in-season tournament. Like you're trying to make that matter type of thing. Like I know there's an actual championship at the end of this rainbow, but I don't know. I don't like it.
But again, Caleb, if you have that logic, then why do we ever watch an 8-9 NCAA tournament game? Why do we have 64 teams?
Well, we shouldn't have 64 to begin with, as I said. That's too many damn teams.
It is too many teams, but also college basketball has marketed to where it's March Madness.
Yes.
Right. And
there's much more of a chance to upset. I'm not watching fucking Michigan football stomp some fucking no-name SMU or whoever the fuck wins the American Athletic Conference next year. They're going to fucking win that game. I don't care.
Don't think people blindly watch football.
Oh, I already said I'm in the minority. I already said I'm in the minority. They're going to blindly watch that shit, especially Michigan fans, because they love to watch their team run over people. But I don't give a shit. I don't.
Okay, but a lot of people will. That's my point.
That's the thing, is that there's a difference when it comes to basketball and football in that aspect.
Exactly. That's what Jeff, I don't think is getting.
These schools, these smaller schools, have guys that stay for the full 4 years. They don't focus on the football program. They focus on the basketball program a lot more. So that's why you can get these upsets that are happening right there. And in college basketball has focused all of their attention into March Madness.
They marketing the fact that a 16 can beat a 1 seed.
There's a reason why I don't start paying attention to college basketball till January, till almost after the Super Bowl, until I start paying attention to it, to start filling out my bracket and watching teams, because it doesn't matter up to that point. And they know that college basketball doesn't matter up to that point, because that's their all in, that we get our money and get our situation, because that's when everyone is focused in on what's going on because of their brackets and everything else. Now, if the NCAA football can get a bracket system, something to get maybe copy that. But the thing is, they have to
estimate their ability to do that.
Well, that's the thing, is that they have to make sure that there is an opportunity for upsets to come in, because even though the NCAA basketball doesn't want upsets help bring in conversation, bring in notoriety to it.
But also too,
I think you're overestimating the aspect of these conference winners of these lower conferences actually able to beat these Power 5
or even some of these at-large.
But again, what did I say earlier? The first 34 years of a 64-team tournament.
Stop going back to basketball. We're done with basketball.
We're done going to that. It is 34 years.
First couple rounds are going to be shit football. You said that in the playoffs. You admitted
football that. Football fans are not going to wait 34 years for a 16 seed to finally upset the number 1 seed. It's not going to happen. That will fall. It will fail like the NBA in-season tournament.
Yes.
I
just think you overestimate the college football watching crowd. Yes, as you said, those Tennessee Volunteer fans will do it. But those Tennessee Volunteer fans are one small certain section of the United States. That's not marketable to NCAA football. They're going to want the big tier ones. That's why Notre Dame is, no matter what, always on NBC, because they are marketable. And that's why I disagree with Caleb. I know he's not going to watch that game, but everyone's going to watch that Texas Notre Dame game because it's Texas, which is the most profitable college in all of college. It makes more. UT makes more money than everybody else. They do. They sued Tennessee for the coloring of their orange. That's what they do. And Notre Dame makes the money that they do. So yes, they would love that matchup because they can market that matchup. Yeah. They can market it.
And I mean, there's a lot of market matchups. You got Heisman, like you said, the Heisman potential with Jaden Daniels for LSU, even though they're a low seed. That's marketable in the current rankings. Now, this is not your conference winner and at large straight up. We're going off just the straight rankings. But, I mean,
you get getting this and getting it going forward. But you need these lower conferences to go up and play against these top tiers, especially with us going to a Big Ten.
I think SEC. They do. They do.
They need. Well, they need to have some quality.
When does an SMU play in Miami?
They played OU this year.
That's not Alabama.
Well, you said Miami.
I know. I said Miami. Sorry, I just realized what I said. I meant Alabama.
These other smaller conferences, with it going to basically a 2-conference system, they're going to need to play more and show up and win to actually prove that later on, because that's not going to happen early on. That's going to be a shot in the foot, them shooting themselves in the foot for this. They're going to go with the top 12 teams, period. And they're not going to care about conference winners. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm just telling you that conference winners have to beat top tier teams consistently outside of their conference. They're going to have to line up. Like, if you want to win this conference USA, you need to line up all in your out of conference games. You need to line up all Big Ten and all SEC teams, and you need to win them all to then give yourself a reason to be acknowledged, because your conference
is what the TCU and Boise State had to do initially before they moved to the Big 12. And
exactly,
Boise State's still up there,
Mountain West.
But
yeah,
they're in the West.
My problem is that everyone wants to give. Oh well, they need a chance. They need a chance. How come Liberty didn't get a freaking chance? Why did Liberty?
Because Liberty didn't play anyone. They played no one worthy.
Florida State
doesn't deserve to be.
Florida State's not in, and they can whine all they want. We've already agreed that they didn't play anybody.
I'm just addressing.
And they had a bad injury. Unfortunately, had a horrible time.
Good. I mean, I agree with it. I completely agree that they're going.
Even if they didn't have the injury, they do not deserve to be in this top 4.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Now, they had a better leg to stand on of saying we deserve to be in it. They had a better leg to stand on, no pun intended. But they still wouldn't have been able to get in there. I mean, they would have probably got in there, but they didn't deserve to be in there because they would have been blown out the first game.
I can agree with that.
And I think when Georgia blows them out in the Rose Bowl, it's gonna put that foot down of, okay, the committee made the right decision, and this is the reason why they made it.
And
100% agree.
I'm gonna say one last thing real quick before.
It is your segment.
No, it's y'all's segment. It's all.
No, it's your segment. You have your music, and we'll be exiting on your music. So,
one thing that
the heck was that?
No.
All right. Go ahead.
What they? Damn it! I told you that was the button you can't.
I'm just screwing with you.
No, the one thing I will say
I've never been given this power.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
No, but one thing I will add to this.
Yes.
Is we may not agree that the games could be compelling, and honestly, I think
there's going to be a lot of situations to where the scenario that I outlined for my 16 playoff would not be compelling. However, with that being said, think about the future of most states already, but then probably states coming up here the next 5 years legalizing point spreads. And so doesn't that add intrigue to these games for a lot of people? Like, to me, if you're like,
oh, I think if you're an addicted sports bettor, maybe, but
yeah,
I mean,
you're telling me though, like, there's not going to be a segment of the population that would have easy access to say, oh, well, I'm bored. I want to watch college football today. Let's make this a little more exciting. I'll put some money on.
But the thing is, they can already do that through websites. I mean, MGM has a portal for betting. Bovada.
Everyone does.
Yeah,
you could do it automatically. It doesn't take a new state law to be made. You can just play the website.
This adds intrigue to these.
But it's already there. There's no intrigue added because it's already available, and you can already do that.
I think what you're trying to bring up is that there's more games in a playoff situation, so that would bring more money in betting wise because it's a playoff game. I see where you're going with it on that. And yes, there possibly could, but I mean, people are going to bet on everything. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. They bet on the coin flip and everything else that's going on. I mean, there's so many
marble races when COVID was going.
Yeah,
those YouTube marble races.
People are going to bet on what they're going to bet on. So I mean, yes, money does drive everything in the world. Money makes the world go round. Making more of it is what will change different situations. But I don't think that that's going to be a huge thing because they're going to still be betting on it as well. I just think it's going to have more quality games and actually have a more playoff system. 12, I think, is a good starter. Yeah, 8 would be better, I think. I think 8 would be better to start with. But they're trying to expand it out because, I mean, if you went with 12, then you'd have Texas OU in the first round, and that's given a 1 and 2 bye. Given 1 and number 2 bye. That gives you a Texas OU first round matchup.
Yeah.
That's intriguing, especially after with OU beating Texas earlier in the season. That's an intriguing matchup. That's something that NCAA can run with. So,
right. And so, and that's kind of the thing. I mean, in theory, I would prefer an 8-team playoff too, but I prefer a 16-team playoff just in the sense that I don't think it's fair for these universities like teams from the MAC conference or teams from Conference USA. They don't get the same opportunity too. How's that fair?
They don't have quality players.
They're not the same argument we have with Liberty and FSU.
But the thing is, it's just like, why play the FBS then? Just play in the FCS.
They probably should.
They could. They have the opportunity to go down if they want to.
Besides,
they can do without
but why is it for them? Why is it for them? They have to play. Oh, you're excluded. We're only going to take one group of 5. But as we discussed earlier tonight, what does Power 5 even mean anymore? Just because
then they should schedule every out-of-conference game as a high-quality top 25 team.
If you know your conference is shit, that's what you've got to do.
You could say that, but think about the money Liberty would have left off the table if they did schedule out a conference. Because a good quality.
What do you mean? When you're playing those top tier teams, whether you win or lose, you're getting paid a mint.
But do you realize how much
money State got $4 million to beat Texas A&M?
Do you realize
got $4 million to beat Michigan?
Playing in the Fiesta Bowl right now? Do you realize how much money they're playing they're getting paid to play in the Fiesta Bowl because they went undefeated?
Yeah, but think about if every single out of conference game you're getting paid $2 to $4 million because you're playing a top tier team. Whether you win or lose, you're bringing in money that you can then invest back into either players or your NIL or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean,
Facilities,
they could be. I know,
Yeah.
but they're getting paid $15 to $20 million to play in the Fiesta.
Okay, 15, 20 million, that's great. But if you're getting 5 million for every out of conference game, you're making 25 to 30, maybe 40 million.
Well, you're not making that much.
If you're getting your ass beat, then who cares at that point? Because then you're able to reinvest that.
Well, no, the thing is,
Right.
is that you're probably going to play two or three of those games. That's all.
Well, I'm just saying you try to schedule all of those to top tier teams because that's what you have to do to actually make a name for yourself. Because then if you can beat them, now you've moved yourself up the conference and you actually have yourself a legitimate reason to be in the conversation. But if you're in Conference USA MAC, you're not playing top tier teams. So you have to schedule top tier teams to play them. Like I go back to NCAA 2004, old college PlayStation football game they used to play. And yeah, I would. It was phenomenal. But you know what? I would go start with UTEP. And guess what? I would schedule 1, 2. Yeah, it's easy on a video game to sit there and schedule, other teams. But I would just put in the top 5, 6 teams in my out of conference so I could boost my ratings up so I could get into the national championship.
Oh, I did the same thing. That was fun.
Everyone did.
Because I would lose 40-0, but then 3 seasons later, I would win the national championship. And I built
exactly because every year you scheduled the top 4 teams and you go after them, and that's what you got to do if you're in those lower conferences. Doesn't mean you schedule 1, 2, 3, and 4 every year, but you schedule high caliber teams and you test yourself, and you're going to get money for playing those teams because they're playing a lower caliber team, so they're paying you to come play them because that's a tune-up game for them. So it's a win-win situation. You end up beating them, and you still get paid. And if you lose, you still get paid, that's money you can use to invest into your NIL program to help bring more players there into your athletic facilities to make them better. I mean, it's a win-win. You got to do that if you want to make yourself into that way. So, no, you don't just get a pass because you won the MAC championship. No, F you. You didn't win anything else. It needs to be in that, like it's going, just in the, at large. Sorry, you don't get just because you won your championship. If you're in a lower conference and you're playing against lower, you don't get to be the best of the worst and get to just walk into the table and go.
Yeah, you're not jumping Georgia, Ohio State even.
No,
and that's
less getting into the final four.
And I respect y'all for having that. I would just like to say for the people that are sobbing and think like Florida State not getting the playoff like someone died.
They need to grow up and put their big girl panties on.
Exactly. Yes.
Yep. All right. Well,
I'm done now.
Good. All ready to hear that? Here's your outgoing music.
No.
Well, that's all it goes. That's all you get. That's all you get.
That's all you get.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and roll right into the sports gumbo, and go ahead and wrap up everything going on here with that. And we'll try to keep it short because I know we're kind of running near the end of our broadcast length. So
we had a lot to catch up on. So
yeah, we really did.
Let me bring up a couple of statements real quick.
You go right ahead.
So first off, Mavericks beat the Jazz tonight.
I was about to talk about that.
47-97.
Yes.
Crazy good win.
147
triple double.
Are you kidding
97?
147-97. Mavs win.
Oh.
Luka got 40 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds. Let's see what else he got a steal, and that was it.
Kyrie
got
26 points.
Mm-hmm.
26 and
Hardaway 17, Seth Curry
Lively
10.
got 10 points, 4 rebounds. There we go, Lively. Hardaway
featured Tyson
17.
Chandler
And 2 blocks. 2 blocks, too.
Yep.
And D.
I have
Jones
to
Jr.
say,
got
Derek,
12.
I know you had your doubts about Derek Lively, but he has been feeling. He's
doing the role that if we thought that he could succeed in, and he's doing it beautifully.
He's accepted it. He's accepted it. He's taking. He's not just accepted it begrudgingly. He's accepted it with a passion.
Oh yeah.
This is my role, and I'm going to run with it. And he is doing it. And that's all you can expect.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's a beautiful point.
That is a great win.
Really,
fuck the in-season tournament for the rest of basketball because nobody cares about it.
No, nobody cares, but I do care about a 50-point win against the Utah Jazz.
I was like, that's wow. That's awesome. But I also wanted to bring up the fact I'm going to switch to the Rangers real quick. Apparently, they say they're still in the Shota Ohtani race, according to Chris Young, even though reports said they're out. Yeah, I know. Reports have said they're out. I don't think they are. I think it's just something to say. But they are supposedly the favorites now to sign Montgomery and get him back. They also signed a reliever, Kirby Yates.
I saw this.
He's a little old in the tooth, and he has had some injury issues, but he had a decent year last year for the Braves. So you got him. Hader's still on the market. I don't know what's taking so long to sign his ass.
They're not going
in all honesty, if they don't, no, they would not have just done it.
Yes, they
the
would.
Rangers will wait and sign people.
They're not going to.
Chris Young is negotiating. He's trying not to spend as much as he has already.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Now, I will also say in the MLB draft, the Guardians will be picking first this year.
Mm.
The overall pick.
I think what's going to happen now, and obviously it's kind of irrelevant at this point because the Rangers finally got their World Series, which is great for all of us. But I think what Chris Young is about to experience now is the frustration that John Daniels experienced with Ray Davis. It's just like I genuinely believe, and again, I have no factual basis to say this whatsoever, but I believe how all this Rangers transformation started is that Ray Davis was probably hanging out with his buddies at a golf club, and they were like, "Hey man, what the fuck is wrong with your team?" And just like, "Oh, see me, I can transform this team overnight, and then I can be a badass." And so he did it. It worked out. It happened. And then now it's just like, you see, I could win a fucking World Series. You see what I could do if I throw some money around? And I think his motivation is gone. Because ultimately his motivation strictly was to make money. He didn't give a shit about.
I don't know. I think he started.
I don't think he gave a shit about this.
I think he hates Houston at the moment.
I don't think. I think this is just wetting the whistle, and he's enjoying the winning. He enjoyed getting that trophy, and I don't think it's okay, I got it, I'm done, which is what seemed like Cuban did. I think I hope I'm not proven wrong, but to me, he seemed very enthusiastic about getting it. I want to do this again.
From Ray Davis, he got that.
I did.
That reaction. Wow.
I did. And Chris Young, I got that. I definitely got it from Chris Young.
Oh, from Chris Young, yes.
But, yeah.
And I think that Chris Young has Ray Davis' ear. I think he does.
I think he does. It's just
it seemed to me different than when I saw the Mavericks win their championship. Where Cuban seemed excited, but you kind of could tell that
he started thinking about the future, maybe.
Well, he felt like he reached his mountaintop. I'm done. I'm good. Especially
he got the champ for Dirk, and he was done.
Since they blew up the team the next year, which everyone says. Everyone says. Even my father even goes, "Oh, they blew up the team. They didn't give him a chance." And I'm like, that was lightning in a bottle. That team was not going to win again. It wasn't.
Not built the same way. No, I'll agree with you there. But it had a couple pieces that you could have built around and possibly repeated.
They could have tweaked.
I mean, with Caron Butler coming back,
there was a chance to tweak it and go with it, but the entire blowing up of it, I didn't like. I think you could have competed,
Agreed.
but I didn't agree with the blow up, but I understood why. Because I think they could have competed, maybe tweaked, and maybe came back, but I didn't think they were going to repeat. I did not.
So I know this is early in the season too, but the one last thing I want to bring up is the prediction polls for the current NCAA tournament. How the heck is Duke above UConn? That's the only question I got. The rest of the teams, fine.
That's the case.
According to MGM, Duke is ranked 3rd, UConn is ranked 6th. And the current position to who will win.
Duke's played better than UConn. That's why.
No. UConn destroyed North Carolina. Barely lost to Kansas.
I have doubts like what you're actually looking at.
I'm on the MGM website. It's BetMGM.
But when was the last time they updated that?
Hey, because you don't go against Vegas. You don't go against Vegas.
No. I mean, the thing is, I don't think that's the.
What's Providence? What's Providence ranked at right now? Are they on there?
Let me see. Let me get back up here.
Is that right?
It's only Providence. It's only got the top 25, so they may not.
Well, they're not in the top 25 right now.
No,
so.
they're
I think
not,
Providence
they're not there.
is going to be good defensively. And
hey, they're 7-2 under the new coach.
Right, and Chris, what I tell you when we were on here back in April in our sports gumbo, I told you Ken English was a damn good hire. He knows what he's fucking doing.
And he's proven it right now.
He's a fantastic player at Missouri. He's a very smart player. And he was under the tutelage of Mike Anderson when he was a player at Missouri. And this guy knows what he's doing. He is very intelligent.
He's putting together a good season so far and a better season than Cooley's putting together in Georgetown right now.
And also,
the hard loss Cooley had against TCU over the weekend.
And also, too, I mean, Kim English, he's younger than your asses, both. So,
hey.
He's older than me though, so I don't know.
Great. Made me feel good for what I've done with my life.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up is over in the English Premier League.
Yes.
Your Arsenal.
Yes. You're bringing them up. Arsenal has crawled their way up there, number 1 in the English Premier League going in. Manchester City, the champion from the last 2 years, is now down to 4th. So, yeah, Arsenal just nickel and diamond, just making their way up there and are now number 1 in the English Premier League. I'm happy about it. My son's happy about it.
Right.
As I said, months ago, we picked the team just because they had a cannon as their logo. Had no idea if they were good or not.
Sounds like a solid decision.
We picked a team just random. Let's go, cannon. Well, my brother-in-law and my wife's cousin picked Nottingham Forest because they had a tree. And then and then they're like, oh, we just picked the New York Jets of the English Premier League is what we picked. But they're still supporting their team.
Oh, goodness.
Can't fault that.
Oh, speaking of which, what do y'all think about Aaron Rodgers supposedly released off IR, eligible to practice? Not practicing at the moment, but potentially coming back. Potentially coming back in maybe 2 weeks.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
Nothing.
Oh, I know. I agree with you.
Yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs. So, I mean, why are you going to rush him back?
I don't think he should. It's for his ego if he comes in.
No, what this stunt is here solo Aaron Rodgers promotion for himself, so he could be like, "Oh,
I came back in 3 months.
I did the unthinkable and came back from ruptured Achilles through my own personal treatment because I'm a fucking god." That's all this is.
I rubbed frog testicles all over my
right
Achilles, and that made
and he used deer semen to cure his ruptured Achilles.
You just remind me of the Ron White deer joke.
Yes.
Well, also too, he pulled a Bo Jackson and smelled a porcupine's ass too.
Oh yeah, he did.
All right, and I'll go ahead and finish with this. I feel because that this took place during the NFL season, especially with a very pivotal point in the Cowboys season, that this was very underreported. The Adelson family bought majority ownership from Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, as we mentioned. Oh no, never mind. Yeah.
Yep.
And so people think that, I got a text from somebody that said, that means they're going to be the Dallas Mavericks, the Las Vegas
Mavericks. Yeah, they're
it's
moving.
Like, no, they're not moving. What this is, what's going to happen is the fact that legalized gaming, at least from a sports betting perspective, will be legalized soon in the state of Texas. The Allison family has Greg Abbott in their back pocket already. They have confirmed his support in this front. That's why Mark Cuban agreed to this deal. He's, in his mind, had this idea for a significant amount of time. The American Airlines Center, and correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb, I believe the contract with American Airlines is going to end in 2031. But this will take place. This will happen. And I think this is great for the city of Dallas. And something needs to have, there needs to be a unique attraction to the city, because all of us have grown up in the Metroplex our entire lives. Dallas is the most boring city that's ever existed.
Not the most boring cities ever existed.
No.
There's a lot more boring cities.
Right.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, but what I'm saying,
have you been to Cleveland?
Unfortunately, yes, I have.
Have you been to Akron?
Yes, I have.
Akron is very boring. You know that.
Yes, it is.
But yeah,
pretty
like
much.
They're looking at possibly.
But Akron is a double-A city. Akron's a double-A city. It's not.
Or if you look at where my old boss is living now, where when I congratulate him being promoted, I go, where are you going? He goes, place everyone know what. He goes, I'm going to the place that no one ever goes to vacation, Dayton.
Oh God.
Dayton, Ohio.
Why would you want to go to Dayton?
Well, because he's the area manager for Central Ohio and Michigan. And he asked me if I wanted to come work in Detroit, and I told him, F you.
Well, never. Well, the thing is, happy to that dude's promotion, and I hope.
I'm happy for him.
He's
got a nice house in Dayton, but he lives in Dayton, so he now wears jeans, shorts, and drives a minivan, because that's what people do in Ohio.
Well, but
sad day.
Who would voluntarily move to Dayton? That's kind of the issue.
When the money's right.
I said the money's got to be right. That's why I said voluntarily. But back to the people buying the Mavericks. I agree with you, Jeff. They're not going to move the team. That's not what this signals. It doesn't signal Mark Cuban's running for president because he's trying to sell his interest either. He's doing it for a new stadium is why he's doing it.
Well, he's doing this for gaming. He's doing it for gaming.
Listen to me. I said I agreed with you. It's the gaming. It's going to come with the gaming aspect. The new stadium will come with the gaming aspect, probably near the new convention center that Dallas has got proposed, from everything that I've heard. So, yes, I agree with you, Jeff. It's about gambling, and it's about a new stadium, and it's about combining both of them into one, basically.
I completely agree with you.
And I think all of that is what it is, but you're already poo-pooed away the presidential run. I don't think it's a presidential run, but I do see Cuban running for political office, and to do that, he needed to not liquidate his assets, but do what Trump did and get himself out as a majority owner. I do see him running for political office. I'm not saying president, but I do see a political office him running for in the future. And I see this, to him, it's a win-win move where I get an influx of cash from selling a majority owner of the team. We're able to set up the whole gaming aspect of putting that in. And now I have the opportunity, as not being the majority holder, also leaving Shark Tank, to be able to run for office. I think he's able to then open up every option that he wants to have and have an influx of money and still control the Mavericks temporarily at the point where he can then alleviate that, operation very easily to be able, to me, he's left his options open. And Cuban's been very good about leaving his options open, leaving a window open that he can use at any point. He's able to sell majority of the team, but still contain full operation control of the team. To me, that's okay. At any point, I can drop off everything over to Nico Harrison, and then now I'm able to run for office because I don't have any options for that. But if I feel like I'm not going to win said election that I'm running for, or primary that I'm running for, then I can still come back and then take over my operation committee for the Mavericks.
Right.
So I think he leaves himself in a good. The band's made millions of dollars for a reason. He's set himself up in good operations, in good situations,
and he's also gotten out. He's a little lucky too, getting out before the bus. But
exactly, he's been very lucky in that. I think he's setting himself up for a win-win situation.
Could be. And it's crazy how much he earned because he bought the Mavericks for like $265 million, turned around and sells it for $3.5 billion.
Well,
and just a majority share. That's it. Not even the whole aspect. He bought full control.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, but I think the problem that I have with this is that something is under the team. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is just as simple as Mark Cuban saying, "Hey, I'm 65. I want to spend time with my kids now, even though they're about to go to college now." There's something.
He's got to make those college games, Jeff.
Yeah, but I think again, as we discussed ad nauseum, this is based on this is strictly based on gaming, and it should be, because if he's as smart of a businessman as he says he is, then he needs to get this done as soon as possible. Because I
think gaming is a part of it.
And that's the thing is that Chris, I think if he didn't, I think the only time he would have been ready to do this last year, he'd have been ready to do this 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. He knows that
the opportunities now. That's why it finally happened, and I think this is such a beneficial piece to the city of Dallas, because we need to be interjected with something new. Dallas hasn't provided anything new to the city in probably 50 years, in my opinion. Unless if you think that bougie bars are productive for society. I don't think they are.
You don't like the Omni Hotel?
No, I don't.
They could have done something if they wouldn't have wet the bed and let the Cowboys go ahead and build in Fair Park and take over the Cotton Bowls. What they should have.
Well, that's why you need to piss on Laura Miller's grave. So,
exactly. But anyways, hey, it is what it is. We'll see how that situation continues to unfold. Especially, I don't think anyone needs to worry. The Mavericks aren't leaving. They're not going to Vegas.
They're not going to
Vegas and Seattle are the two cities already slated to get an expansion franchise, so they don't need to worry about that. They don't want to take a team; they want to build one of their own, just like
and
they
did.
The
NBA is not going to abandon the number 5 television market.
No, they're not going to do that.
It's not happening.
I mean,
so for people that say that, I'm sorry, they're incompetent.
If San Antonio hadn't had the success they had with
oh my God, they're
Popovich,
dead.
then that would have been a team they could have gone out. But Popovich saved that. Like, they can't leave San Antonio now because of what Popovich has done there.
Because they won 5 championships or whatever.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
And they're one of the winningest franchises. And that team started in Dallas. Don't forget
the Chaparrals. Yeah.
Yep.
The thing is that if that did not happen, the Spurs team is dead. They'd be.
Oh, it'd have been dead a long time ago. But
this team would have been extinct before maybe I was born.
I don't know about all that.
They did. I don't know if they would have been extinct before you were born. I mean, come on, you were before they won. Like, David Robinson didn't win anything until Tim Duncan got there. You were born long before that. So feeling a little over dramatic there, Nancy. All right. Well, anyways. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I think we've had a lot of great conversation here tonight. I mean, we had a lot to catch up on here after the last 2 weeks. We didn't even get to week 4 because what's the point? We're talking about now and the future. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you again. Please like us on YouTube and any of our social platforms. Please comment on any segments you'd like us to talk about. Otherwise, we'll just keep planning out what we want to do, and we'll talk about that. But if you'd like to contact us, please do reach out to us to do that. Share this with your friends, and share it out into the social media verse, and let's help bring this around. Let's talk some more and bring some more conversations into it. So once again, for Jeff Amos, Caleb Culver, this is Chris Porter, and we'll see you at the next round. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.